Olivia Foster was 21 when her father told her she no longer belonged in his family. He said it inside Foster radio and marine signal, with rain ticking against the front windows and her grandmother's soldering iron cooling on the bench behind them. William had come straight from work. His dress shoes were wet, and he'd left a trail across the worn gray floor. "You had one thing to do," he said. Olivia kept both hands around a paper cup of coffee Karen had poured for her. It had gone cold. "You wanted me to lie to her. I wanted you to help her understand reality." From the back room, Karen shut a metal drawer harder than necessary. She had heard every word. William knew she had, but he continued looking at Olivia. The shop occupied the lower floor of a narrow building on Pioneer Avenue in Homer, Alaska. Radios, microphones, cable spools, and old marine instruments covered nearly every shelf. A wooden staircase at the rear led to Karen's apartment. The place smelled of dust, wet coats, and the sharp burnt scent that lingered after soldering. William had spent 3 months trying to make Karen sell it. A buyer wanted the lot, not the shop. Karen had refused every offer. That afternoon, William had sent Olivia in with a folder and instructions to leave it beside Karen's lunch. The folder contained a sales agreement. Instead, Olivia had opened it and read enough to understand what he was doing. Then she had carried it to her grandmother. "Dad brought this," she'd said. "He wants you to sign it before you speak to anyone else." Karen had looked at the first page, removed her glasses, and asked, "Did he tell you what it was?" He said it was insurance paperwork. Karen had nodded once. She wasn't surprised. That made Olivia feel worse. Now, William stood between Olivia and the front door. "You embarrassed me," he said. "I told her the truth. You picked a side. I didn't know there were sides. There are always sides when property is involved." Karen came out of the back room carrying the folder. She was 68 then, small and steady, with gray hair pinned behind her ears. She held the papers against her apron. "This is my building," she said. "You don't send your daughter in to trick me out of it." William's jaw tightened. "Mom, stay out of this. It's happening in my shop. She's my daughter, and you're speaking to her like she works for you." William turned back to Olivia. "Come home. We'll discuss it there." Olivia could hear the offer hidden inside the order. If she followed him, apologized, and blamed Karen, the evening might settle into its usual shape. He would make dinner without speaking. By morning, there would be rules. She would follow them because she was still finishing community college classes and had very little money. She set the coffee down. "I'm staying here tonight." William waited. He expected her to take it back. When she didn't, his face changed. It wasn't anger at first. It was disbelief. "If you stay," he said, "don't come back for your things." Karen stepped forward. "William, no. She's made her choice," I said one night, Olivia told him. "You told me where I stand." "That's not what I said. It's what you did." He opened the door. Cold air swept across the floor and stirred the invoices pinned near the register. "You walk out of my house over this, you're done. I won't pay your tuition. I won't cover your phone. I won't keep explaining your behavior to the rest of the family." Olivia wanted him to stop long enough for the conversation to become ordinary again. She wanted him to say he was furious, not final. He didn't. Karen said, "You'll regret this." William looked at his mother. "Maybe you both will." Then he left. Olivia stood beside the counter until his truck pulled away. Only then did she notice how hard she was gripping the edge of it. Karen didn't tell her everything would be fine. She picked up the cold coffee and poured it down the little sink. "The couch upstairs pulls out," she said. "It leans to the left, so sleep on the right." That was how Olivia lost her father and gained a temporary bed above a radio shop. Temporary lasted 6 weeks. Karen gave her work cleaning parts, answering calls, and typing invoices. She paid her for every hour. Olivia found a room after that and built a life her father knew almost nothing about. She finished school slowly, worked office jobs, moved twice, and learned not to check every unfamiliar truck in a parking lot. Karen remained in her life, but they didn't discuss William often. She never asked Olivia to forgive him. She also never let Olivia pretend the estrangement didn't hurt. Once a week, usually on Thursday, Karen closed the front door for half an hour. She sat at the long repair bench beneath the west window, switched on an old marine receiver, and wrote in a black notebook, while tones and scraps of distant speech came through the speaker. Olivia asked about it once. "Equipment check," Karen said. "For who?" "For people who notice when something stops working." Then she adjusted a dial, and listened. 8 years later, Karen died on a Monday morning in the upstairs apartment. Olivia was 29 by then. She learned about it from Dawn Brewer, Karen's daughter and Olivia's aunt. Dawn called at 6:43 while Olivia was standing in her kitchen, waiting for toast to rise. "Your grandma passed in her sleep," Dawn said. Olivia sat down without turning off the toaster. Dawn's voice softened. "I'm sorry, honey. Was she alone?" "Yes. But she was in her own bed." Olivia stared at the pale square of morning outside her window. She had spoken to Karen 2 evenings earlier. Karen had complained about the price of canned soup and said the shop roof needed attention before winter. She had not sounded ill. "When can I see her?" Olivia asked. "You can't right now. They've already taken her. Your dad handled it." The use of "your dad" struck harder than Dawn intended. Dawn still spoke as though the family had suffered a disagreement that might clear up if everyone sat at the right table. The memorial was held 11 days later. William shook hands near the entrance, but did not approach Olivia. Dawn hugged her, then moved away to greet someone else. On a display table sat photographs of Karen beside fishing boats, work vans, radio towers, and the shop's original blue sign. In one picture, Olivia stood next to Karen behind the counter. Someone had folded the corner under, hiding most of Olivia's shoulder. She fixed it and walked away. The estate meeting happened 3 weeks later in a small conference room above a bank. William sat at the end of the table with a folder arranged squarely in front of him. As executor, he had already made lists, obtained valuations, and prepared a schedule for closing the estate. Dawn sat to his right. She kept rubbing the clasp of her purse. Olivia had been invited because Karen's will named her. William began with the accounts. Cash, investments, and the proceeds from Karen's house before she moved above the shop would remain with the estate and pass to William and Dawn after expenses. Karen's truck would go to Dawn. William would keep several personal items and oversee the sale of the rest. He spoke calmly, without looking at Olivia for more than a second. Then he reached the final page. "The Pioneer Avenue property passes to Olivia." Dawn's hand stopped moving. Olivia thought she had misheard him. The shop? The building and its contents? There was no warmth in his voice, but there was something close to satisfaction. He slid a valuation across the table. Photographs showed water staining, damaged siding, a sagging rear awning, and corrosion along the roof edge. A contractor's note recommended demolition if major structural trouble appeared during inspection. A handwritten figure had been circled near the bottom. $18,000. "What is that?" Olivia asked. "Estimated demolition and disposal cost," William said. "The property itself has limited market value in its current condition. It's on Pioneer Avenue. It's a narrow lot with an obsolete commercial building on it." Dawn looked toward the window. She had known the shop was in poor shape. She had not expected William to describe their mother's life's work as if it were spoiled food. Olivia read the report again. "Grandma was living there. People live in unsafe places all the time. Did you have it inspected? This is a preliminary assessment, so no." William folded his hands. "You can disclaim the gift. If you do, the estate will deal with it. How? We'll clear the site and sell what remains." Dawn spoke quickly. "That might be easiest, Liv. There could be mold. The heating system is ancient. Mom wouldn't want you buried in bills." Olivia looked at her. "Did she tell you that?" "No. I'm being practical." William pushed a second document forward. A yellow tab marked the signature line. "You have until probate closes," he said. "But there's no reason to drag it out." Olivia read the first paragraph. The wording was simple enough. If she signed, she would give up the property as though Karen had never left it to her. "Why did Grandma leave it to me?" William's expression remained still. "She didn't explain her decisions to me." That answer was true, but incomplete. He knew Karen had changed the will after their argument over the sale. He also knew she had refused to discuss the building with him during her final years. What he didn't know was whether that refusal protected anything more than stubbornness. Dawn leaned closer. "Take a few days if you need them." William turned to her. "The estate is paying insurance while she thinks. It's been 3 weeks, and expenses continue." Olivia placed the disclaimer back on the table. "I want the deed." William blinked. "You should speak to someone before deciding. You've spent this whole meeting telling me to decide. I'm advising you not to accept a liability. You're asking me to erase Grandma's last decision." His calm began to crack. "Don't make this emotional." Dawn closed her eyes briefly. Olivia remembered the night William had left her in the shop. He had said property always came with sides. 8 years later, he had arranged the papers so she could choose his side again. "I accept it," she said. William leaned back. "Then the costs are yours." "I understand." She didn't understand all of them. That frightened her. Still, she signed the acceptance page, and William signed where the executor was required to sign. Dawn witnessed both signatures. A week later, Olivia stood outside Foster Radio and Marine Signal, holding an envelope containing the recorded deed and a ring with 4 keys. The blue shop sign hung crooked above her. Salt wind had peeled the paint around the windows. Brown watermarks ran down the siding beneath a broken gutter. Behind the glass, the repair floor looked darker than she remembered. The first key didn't fit. The second entered the lock, but wouldn't turn. Olivia braced one hand against the door and worked it gently until the cylinder moved. The door opened 3 inches and struck something inside. She squeezed through sideways. A ceiling tile had fallen behind it. Damp paper covered the floor. The air carried mildew, cold metal, and the faint smell of Karen's hand soap. Olivia found the electrical panel near the back. Most breakers were labeled in Karen's block printing. Bench, apartment, heat, rear lights. One label had faded until only the word base remained. She tried the main switch. Nothing happened. Upstairs, a window had leaked onto the kitchen floor. The refrigerator stood open and empty. Karen's yellow mug remained beside the sink, clean and upside down. Olivia set it upright. She returned downstairs and found a plastic sheet in the storeroom. It took her 20 minutes to drag a ladder under the leaking section and pin the sheet beneath it so the water ran into a bucket instead of across the workbench. The repair was ugly, but it held. That was her first useful thing. Near the west window stood the receiver Karen had used for her weekly checks. Dust covered the tuning scale. Its power cord disappeared through a drilled hole behind the bench, separate from the dead wall outlets. Olivia wiped the glass with her sleeve. A truck stopped outside. She climbed down from the ladder as a man in a brown work jacket approached the door. He was carrying a red tool case and looking up at the damaged gutter. When he saw Olivia through the glass, he stopped. "Olivia?" She recognized Caleb Terry a moment later. He had worked beside Karen for years, though Olivia had only met him a few times. He was 34 now, broader through the shoulders, with rain caught in his dark hair. "I heard about Karen," he said. "I'm sorry. Thank you." He glanced past her at the covered bench and the bucket. "William said the place was staying closed. It isn't his." Caleb looked back at her. Olivia held up the ring of keys. "It's mine." For the first time since the estate meeting, someone looked at that fact without pity. Caleb set his tool case on the counter. Then, "Let's find out why the power's off." Caleb walked to the electrical panel and opened it with the flat end of a screwdriver. "Did you shut anything off?" he asked. "I tried the main switch. That's all. Good." "Why good?" "Because people get nervous and start moving every switch they can find. Then I have to solve 2 problems. He removed a small flashlight from his jacket and studied the wiring. Olivia stood beside him, holding the deed envelope against her chest, because she had nowhere clean to put it. "Panel's old," he said, "but Karen kept it neat. Can you tell why nothing works? Not from here." He closed the panel and headed toward the rear door. It had swollen in its frame. He leaned into it once, then stopped. "Don't force that," Olivia said. "The glass might break." Caleb looked at the narrow window beside the door. Karen used to say the same thing. She'd also hit it with her shoulder. She knew where to hit. He shifted lower and pushed near the latch. The door opened with a wet scrape. Behind the building, weeds had grown through the gravel. A rusted fuel drum stood under the stairs. Beyond it sat a green metal generator, housing with a sloped lid. Olivia remembered hearing it during winter outages, but she had never been allowed to touch it. Caleb lifted the lid. Inside, the generator was dull with dust, but protected from the rain. A paper maintenance tag hung from the oil cap. Karen's handwriting covered it with dates and short notes. The last entry was 5 weeks earlier. She was still running it, Olivia said. Every month, even with the shop closed. It wasn't closed when she was alive. Olivia glanced through the rear window. Dust had softened every shape inside. She had assumed Karen stopped taking work because the front shades were often down. It had been easier to assume than to ask. Caleb checked the fuel gauge. Tanks nearly empty. Batteries weak too. Can it be fixed? Probably. That word gets expensive, though. Olivia nodded as if she had expected that. She had a little over $6,000 saved. Most of it was meant for a better apartment and the dental work she had postponed twice. She had already priced roof tarps that morning. Caleb saw the calculation on her face, but didn't ask for a number. First thing is the utility service, he said. The meter's dead. Could be a disconnect. Who disconnects a building before ownership transfers? The executor, maybe. Olivia looked at him. Caleb lowered the generator lid. I said maybe. She called William from the back steps. He answered on the fifth ring. What is it? The power's been disconnected. Yes. She waited for more. When did you do that? After the memorial. The estate wasn't going to keep paying commercial rates on an empty building. You knew Grandma had equipment in here. Olivia, unplugged equipment does not require electricity. The heat does. It's July, in Alaska. The pipes were drained. She looked through the open door at Caleb. He pretended to examine the frame, giving her what privacy the narrow yard allowed. Why didn't you tell me? She asked. It was in the expense file. You showed me a demolition estimate. You didn't give me an expense file. You accepted the property as it stood. There it was, the small correction that placed every missing fact on her side of the table. William had used that method all her life. If she hadn't asked the exact question, he believed he hadn't withheld the answer. Which utility? She asked. He gave her the name and account reference without hesitation. The efficiency almost made it worse. You'll need to put down a deposit, he said. Commercial service isn't handled like an apartment. I can call them. I'm sure you can. Olivia stared at the wet boards under her shoes. William took her silence as uncertainty. His voice changed slightly. You still have time to disclaim. Signing the first page doesn't prevent us from correcting this before the final filing. For 1 second, relief moved through her. He was offering to take the trouble away. It was the closest he had come in 8 years to saying he could make room for her again. What happens if I do? She asked. The estate takes possession, and you tear it down. We deal with it responsibly. Would you call me after? What do you mean? Would we talk? William was silent. Olivia wished she could pull the question back. It sounded younger than she was. This isn't the place for that discussion, he said. It never was. She looked at the generator housing, the blocked gutter, and the open rear door Caleb had managed without breaking the glass. No, she said. I suppose it isn't. She ended the call before William could return to the building. Caleb gave her a moment. Then he said, the utility office closes at 4. It was 2:38. They drove in separate vehicles because Caleb had another appointment afterward. Olivia brought the deed, identification, and the estate contact page. At the utility counter, she learned the deposit would be $800. The clerk asked whether the business was reopening. Olivia looked at the line on the form. She had imagined herself owning the shop. She had not yet imagined answering that question. Yes, she said. Not all at once, but yes. The clerk changed the service status and said power could be restored the following morning if the exterior connection passed inspection. Olivia paid the deposit. Her savings dropped below the amount that had always made her feel safe. Outside, Caleb waited beside his van. You didn't have to stay, she said. I wanted to know when we could test the panel. Tomorrow morning. That's quick. It cost $800. That's also quick. She laughed despite herself. It came out once and stopped. Caleb opened the side door of his van. Inside were plastic bins, meters, coils of cable, and 2 radios strapped into brackets. A folding work surface had been fixed along one wall. You work out of this? Olivia asked. Mostly. Sometimes a customer lets me use a corner of a shed. Sometimes they don't. I thought you had a shop near the harbor. I rented a bench there. The owner raised the rent in May. Why didn't Grandma let you work here? She did. Olivia looked at him. Caleb pulled a bin toward the door. I kept my independent jobs. I paid her for bench time when I needed it. She sent work my way if she was overloaded. What happened? She stopped charging me. That doesn't sound like her. I fixed things around the building. That sounds like her. He smiled. It worked until she got sick of me, telling her the roof needed replacing. She told me it only needed attention. That was Karen's word for anything she didn't want priced. Olivia ran her thumb along the edge of the deed envelope. Did she talk about selling? Not to me. Did she talk about leaving the shop to anyone? Caleb's expression became careful. She asked whether I'd keep servicing a few customers if the building changed hands. When? Last winter. What did you say? I asked who was buying it, and she said I hadn't answered her question. Olivia could hear Karen saying it. I told her I'd keep servicing the equipment if I could afford a place to do the work, Caleb continued. She said that was honest enough. He closed the van door. Why didn't you tell me at the memorial? You were standing beside Dawn. William was 6 feet away, watching everybody. He does that, I noticed. Caleb had known enough to stay quiet. Olivia had known it too. Even after 8 years, she measured what she said by William's distance from her. Seeing the habit from outside made it difficult to excuse. The next morning, power returned just after 10. Caleb met her at the shop with coffee and a box of electrical testers. He checked the outlets one circuit at a time, while Olivia opened windows and carried damp paper into garbage bags. The front lights worked. The upstairs kitchen did not. 2 bench outlets sparked when Caleb tested them, so he shut that breaker off and marked both with red tape. The heat controls came alive, though the furnace made a grinding sound that caused him to reach for the switch. No heat, he said. Is that your professional opinion? That's my opinion if you don't want smoke. The rear lights flickered, steadied, then went dark again. By noon, they had safe power in the front half of the repair floor, the upstairs bedroom, and 1 kitchen outlet. It wasn't much, but the building no longer felt sealed. Olivia plugged in a floor lamp upstairs. Its shade was crooked. Warm yellow light spread over Karen's small table and the 2 chairs beneath the window. For several seconds, Olivia stood in the doorway. She had slept in that room after William told her not to come home. Karen had left the lamp on then too, not as a gesture. She had simply understood that Olivia wouldn't know where the switch was. Caleb called from downstairs. Do you want to see something unpleasant? That depends on how expensive it is. Then you probably don't. She found him beneath the west bench. He had removed a warped panel from the wall. The antenna cables passed through a round opening behind it. Several were tagged in Karen's handwriting. 1 tag read, Shop Receive. Another read, Hill Relay. The rest carried combinations of letters and numbers Olivia didn't understand. Water had darkened the wood around them. The roof leak followed the cable chase, Caleb said. If water got inside the feed line, anything connected to the outside antenna could be damaged. Olivia looked at the old receiver above them. Can we test it? Not yet. Its power isn't coming from the wall. I noticed the cord. It runs downstairs. There is no downstairs. There's a crawl space. Olivia had never seen an entrance. Caleb tapped the floor with the rubber handle of his screwdriver. Most of it gave a hard, flat answer. Near the end of the bench, 1 section sounded hollow. He moved a cabinet aside. Beneath it was a square seam cut into the floor, almost invisible under years of gray paint. A recessed metal ring lay flat at one edge. Olivia crouched and pulled. The ring lifted, but the hatch did not. Locked? She asked. Painted shut, maybe. They worked a putty knife around the seam. The paint cracked in thin lines. When Caleb lifted again, the hatch rose 2 inches and stopped against something below. A cold, earthy smell came through the gap. Olivia held the flashlight while he reached underneath and shifted a loose length of cable. The hatch opened far enough to reveal wooden steps and a shallow utility space beneath the shop. At the bottom stood a battery cabinet, a charge controller, and a narrow shelf of labeled connectors. The receiver's power cord ran directly into the cabinet. Karen had maintained a separate source for that bench. Is it live? Olivia asked. Caleb descended 2 steps and tested the cabinet before touching it. A green light appeared on his meter. Low voltage, he said. But yes. How? If the generator's off. There's a battery bank. Something's been keeping a charge. He followed a smaller wire with his flashlight. It disappeared through the foundation toward the rear of the building. Olivia remembered a dark panel mounted above the back stairs. She had thought it was part of an old sign. Solar, she said. Probably just enough for standby. Caleb climbed out and wiped his hands on a cloth. Karen wanted that receiver available when the rest of the shop went dark. Why? I don't know. It was the first time he had admitted that about anything in the building. Olivia looked at the receiver. The tuning scale remained dark, and dust still lay around its switches. It seemed ordinary again, which somehow made the separate power line more troubling. Her phone rang. Dawn's name appeared on the screen. Olivia almost let it go unanswered. Then she remembered the utility account, the expense file, and how easily silence became someone else's version of events. She answered. "Hi, Aunt Dawn. I drove past," Dawn said. "There are lights on. I put the service in my name." "You're really doing this?" "I said I was. I thought you meant you wanted time." Olivia looked at Caleb. He was gathering the damp antenna tags so none would tear. "I need to ask you something," she said. "Did Grandma keep any equipment running when the shop was closed?" Dawn didn't answer at once. "Why are you asking?" "There's a receiver on separate power." The silence changed. Dawn knew what she meant. "Your grandma checked that radio every Thursday," she said. "Same time, every week." "What was she listening for?" "I don't know. She never told me." "Did Dad know?" "I don't think so." Olivia rested her hand on the edge of Karen's bench. "What time on Thursday?" "Around 4, Dawn said. She wouldn't take calls until she finished. Olivia checked the day on her phone. It was Wednesday. After the call, she found a clean cloth and wiped the dust from the receiver's controls. Then she placed the yellow mug beside it, exactly where Karen used to keep her notebook. Caleb watched her turn the tuning knob gently through its stiff range. "Tomorrow at 4, she said. He nodded. "Then we better make sure listening won't ruin it." Caleb unplugged the receiver from its separate supply before removing the metal cover. The screws resisted. Karen had tightened them evenly, and years of dust had settled into the slots. Olivia held the flashlight while Caleb worked each one loose and placed it in the yellow mug. "You sure that's a good place?" he asked. "She kept screws in it. She drank coffee from it. She did both. That explains the taste." Olivia smiled and angled the light toward the open chassis. The receiver was older than she was. Its wiring had been repaired in several places, but the repairs were clean. Small paper tags marked replaced capacitors and adjusted coils. Each tag carried a date and Karen's initials. The newest was less than a year old. "She serviced it recently," Olivia said. Caleb leaned closer. "She serviced it constantly." "Would it need that if she only used it once a week?" "Depends what she expected from it." He found no burned components. The fuse tested properly. The battery supply under the floor was weak but stable. The problem lay between the receiver and the roof antenna. Moisture had entered the cable, exactly as Caleb feared. He showed Olivia the reading on his meter. "This feed is nearly useless." "Nearly? It might carry a strong local signal. Anything distant will disappear into noise. So, we replace it." Caleb looked toward the ceiling. "We replace all the wet sections, we inspect the antenna, we seal the roof opening, then we hope water didn't reach the matching unit." "How long?" "With the right cable, half a day." "That sounds suspiciously affordable." "The cable is in my van. Getting onto the roof is the unpleasant part." The ladder Karen kept in the storeroom reached the eaves, but not the antenna mount. Caleb refused to climb it. He had spent enough years working alone to know which shortcuts left a person unable to work again. They drove to a rental yard and collected an extension ladder. Olivia paid for 2 days because the 1-day return time fell before Thursday's radio check. Back at the shop, Caleb set the ladder against the rear wall and tested every foot before climbing. Olivia held the base. "You don't have to stand directly beneath me," he called down. "I'm holding the ladder. You're also in the path of anything I drop." She moved to one side. The antenna stood near the roof ridge, a salt-streaked metal pole with 2 horizontal elements. Its cable entered through a cracked rubber seal. Someone had wrapped the opening with black tape. The tape had hardened and split. "Was that Grandma's repair?" Olivia asked. "Not unless she forgot how weather works." He cut the tape away. Beneath it, the connection had turned green with corrosion. Olivia watched from the ground as he photographed the damage. Could someone have done that after she died? No. This took time. Then why was she still using it? Maybe she wasn't using this antenna. He looked across the roof and found a second cable fixed beneath the gutter. It ran toward the rear yard, then disappeared down the wall near the generator housing. Caleb climbed down and followed it. The cable entered a steel conduit buried beneath the gravel. "Where does that go?" Olivia asked. "Not sure. The lot ends at the alley. It might turn toward the hill. That would require crossing someone else's property, unless there's an old utility route." Olivia took out her phone and opened the property map that had come with the deed. The lines showed the building, the narrow lot, and a marked access strip at the rear. She had assumed it served the power connection. A note beside the strip read, "Communications easement." "Is that normal?" she asked. "For this place, maybe?" William's valuation didn't mention it. Valuations tend to mention things that affect the land. Olivia enlarged the document. The words remained. It was the first clear fact that didn't fit William's description of the building. An obsolete shop did not need protected communication access running beyond its rear fence. She called the recording office listed on the map. A woman confirmed the easement was active and attached to the property. It allowed access for maintenance of a buried communications line extending uphill from the shop. "Who owns the line?" Olivia asked. "The record identifies it by equipment route, not a separate owner. Can you send me the filing?" "There's a copy fee." Olivia paid it. The document arrived by email 20 minutes later. Most of it was an old survey. The route continued beyond the alley and climbed toward higher ground outside the center of Homer. At 3 points, it was marked with short identifiers. Caleb copied them onto a piece of cardboard. "Do these mean anything to you?" she asked. "Not yet. You worked here for 12 years. I repaired what Karen put on my bench. She didn't hand me a map of everything she owned." Olivia heard the defensiveness beneath his answer. "I'm not blaming you, I know." He set down the marker. Karen had trusted Caleb with work, but not with the purpose behind all of it. That bothered him more than he wanted Olivia to see. His practical place in Karen's life had felt secure. Now, a buried line beneath the yard suggested there had been a whole part of the shop beyond his reach. Olivia understood the feeling. She had spent years believing Karen told her what mattered. Maybe Karen had only told her what she was ready to carry. They returned to the receiver. Instead of replacing the damaged roof feed, Caleb connected a temporary antenna from his van. He mounted it on a pole in the rear yard and ran fresh cable through the open window. "This won't reach what the roof antenna reached," he said, "but it's safe, and it tells us whether the receiver works." He reinstalled the cover, keeping 1 meter connected to the signal circuit. Then he plugged the receiver into the battery supply. Nothing happened. Olivia checked the switch. "It's on. Give it a second." 5 seconds passed. Then a soft orange lamp appeared behind the tuning scale. The speaker released a low rush of static. Olivia stepped closer. The sound was ordinary. It could have come from any old radio between stations. Still, it was the first voice the shop had made since she entered it. Caleb adjusted the gain. The static grew louder. "Receiver works," he said. The deliberate choice to power it had produced one clean answer. Karen had not maintained a dead machine. Olivia checked the time. It was nearly 6 on Wednesday evening. They listened across several frequencies, but found only weather reports, harbor traffic, and 2 men discussing an engine part. Nothing matched the mystery Karen had guarded every Thursday. Caleb marked the tuning positions where signals came through clearly. Then he shut the receiver off. "Tomorrow, we start early," he said. "What do we need?" "A better temporary antenna, charge batteries, and patience." Can patience be rented? Not in Homer during summer. Before leaving, Olivia went upstairs and opened Karen's kitchen cabinets. She found canned beans, dry pasta, a pan with a loose handle, and 3 clean dish towels. In a drawer beside the stove lay a spare key on a plastic tag. "Rear box." She carried it downstairs. Caleb was locking his tool case. "Do you know what this opens?" He looked at the tag. "No." They searched the rear wall and generator housing. The key fit neither. Near the alley, hidden behind tall grass, Olivia found a waist-high metal cabinet fixed to a concrete pad. Its paint matched the generator housing. The key turned. Inside were cable junctions, a lightning arrestor, and a small switch panel. A label above the panel read, "Remote Control Return." Beneath it, 2 green lamps were dark. Caleb crouched beside the cabinet. "This is where the buried line starts. Can we turn it on?" "Not until I know what's at the other end. But it's connected to the receiver. Part of it is. The receiver listens. This looks like it also sends commands." "To what?" "Probably remote equipment." Olivia looked uphill. Houses and spruce trees blocked any view of the route. "We leave those switches alone," Caleb said. She agreed, though every dark lamp now felt like a question Karen had left standing in the rain. Thursday morning began with a supply list. Caleb needed connectors, waterproof sealant, a battery charger, and fuel for the generator. Olivia needed gloves, cleaning masks, and plastic bins for anything worth saving. They divided the errands and met at the shop before noon. Caleb arrived with 2 jobs of his own in the van. One was a fish finder with a cracked socket. The other was a marine radio that transmitted but didn't receive. "I have to finish these by Monday," he said. "I can't spend every day chasing Karen's signal. You should work here." He glanced toward the bench. "I mean today," Olivia added. Use the east side while we wait. There's no safe outlet on that side. There is in front. We can move a table. They cleared a section beneath the front window. Olivia scrubbed the surface while Caleb carried in a tool mat and a small soldering station. Within an hour, one corner of the silent shop held active work again. A customer called him while he was testing the fish finder. "Yeah, I've got a bench," Caleb said. "I should have it Monday." Olivia pretended not to notice the word. At 2, they fueled the generator. Caleb changed the oil before trying it. The starter clicked but failed to turn. He connected a fresh battery, checked the fuel line, and tried again. The engine coughed once. On the third attempt, it started. The metal housing vibrated. Exhaust drifted toward the alley. Inside the shop, a row of indicator lamps came on beneath the west bench. Olivia hurried to the rear cabinet. One green lamp now glowed beside the words, "Local Power." The second, marked "Remote Ready," stayed dark. "Halfway," she said. Caleb joined her. Maybe less, but not nowhere. No, not nowhere. At 3:30, they switched off the generator to conserve fuel. The receiver remained on battery power. Caleb tuned slowly while Olivia compared the dial positions with the equipment route identifiers. Dawn called at 3:46. "I remembered something," she said. "Mom used to write down 4 groups of letters when she did the checks. Do you remember them?" "No, I only saw the page upside down." "Was it a notebook?" "A black one." She kept it near the bench. Olivia looked at the yellow mug. The black notebook was not there. Did Dad remove papers from the shop? He took boxes after she died. What boxes? Estate records, bills, tax things. Was the notebook with them? I don't know. Can you ask him? Dawn hesitated. If I ask the wrong way, he'll want to know why. He should know why. It's my equipment. He'll say it was Mom's paperwork. It came with the building. Olivia, I'm trying to help. Then help me get it back. Dawn lowered her voice. Let me look first. The call ended at 3:55. Caleb turned the receiver gain down. Ready? Olivia stood beside him, watching the second hand on her phone. At 4, nothing changed. 1 minute passed, then another. The receiver gave only static. At 4:03, Caleb adjusted the tuning a fraction. A thin tone rose from the speaker and disappeared. Go back, Olivia said. He did. The tone returned, stronger this time. A needle on the signal meter lifted from its resting point. Caleb stopped moving. That's a carrier. From where? I can't tell. The signal held for 12 seconds, dropped, then returned in 3 short bursts. Caleb wrote the pattern down. A series of clipped electronic tones followed, too fast for Olivia to separate. Then the carrier vanished. The meter fell. Silence filled the speaker again. Olivia looked at the clock. 4:06. Did someone send that? Something did. Today? Yes. So, the line is active. The transmitter is active. Our buried line may still be dead. He replayed a recording he had made on his phone. Beneath the tones was a faint sequence of spoken letters, broken by static. They could make out only the final pair. Could that be one of the route identifiers? Olivia asked. Caleb compared it with the cardboard list. The letters matched the ending of the second identifier on the easement. That was enough to confirm the signal belonged to the system attached to the shop. It was not stray harbor traffic. Karen's receiver had been waiting for equipment linked to her property, and some part of that equipment was still transmitting on schedule. Caleb switched off the receiver. To hear the full identifier, we need the proper antenna path, he said. To check anything remotely, we need the return line and that control panel working. And the notebook. Yes. Olivia looked toward the floor hatch, then the rear cabinet, then the generator outside. Yesterday she had wanted to know why one receiver had separate power. Now she knew it was listening to a wider system, one that extended beyond the lot and still expected a weekly check. The shop was no longer just a building she had accepted to keep William from erasing Karen's choice. It had unfinished work. Olivia picked up the cardboard bearing the 3 route identifiers and carried it upstairs. She taped it to the kitchen wall where she could see it from the table. Then she brought down a blanket, a pillow, and the charger for her phone. Caleb watched her place them on the pull-out couch. You're staying here? Until I find out what answers that receiver. He nodded toward the dark ceiling. Then tomorrow, we fix the roof feed. Olivia had not brought sheets. She covered the pull-out mattress with 2 clean towels and slept in her clothes. The furnace remained off, so she wore Karen's old wool cardigan over her sweater. It smelled faintly of cedar from the upstairs closet. Rain struck the windows after midnight. Each time the wind pushed harder, Olivia listened for water hitting the bucket below. The steady drip continued, but no new leak appeared. At 6 in the morning, she gave up on sleep and went downstairs. The shop looked different before the street woke. Gray light came through the front windows. Caleb's soldering station sat on the cleared table, surrounded by the first small area that didn't look abandoned. Olivia made coffee upstairs and drank from a glass. The yellow mug stayed beside the receiver. Caleb arrived at 8 with roof sealant, new cable, and breakfast wrapped in paper. "You look terrible," he said. "The couch still leans left." "You slept on the right?" "I tried." "The whole mattress has developed an opinion." He handed her a breakfast sandwich. By 9, the rain had stopped. Caleb climbed to the roof while Olivia fed fresh cable up from the shop. The old line resisted when they pulled it through the wall. Water ran from its cut end and splashed onto the floor. "That answers whether it was wet," Caleb called. Olivia held the cable over a bucket. "I thought your meter answered that." Now the bucket agrees. The antenna connection was too corroded to save. Caleb replaced it, cleaned the metal mount, and sealed the roof opening with layers meant for salt air and cold weather. Olivia stayed below, guiding the cable around the bench and labeling both ends. When he came down, his knees were dirty and his hands smelled of sealant. "That's temporary," he said. "It looks permanent. That's how temporary repairs become permanent." "How long will it last? If nobody ignores it, through winter." Olivia wrote roof antenna, sealed beside Friday's date on a pad. Caleb watched her. "What?" "You're making a maintenance record. I'm writing down what we did. That's what a maintenance record is." She left the pad beside the yellow mug. They connected the new feed and switched on the receiver. Weather traffic came through more clearly. A harbor operator's voice sounded close enough to be standing near the window. Caleb tuned to the frequency that had carried Thursday's signal. Static filled the speaker, clean and even. "At least we know the receiver can hear," Olivia said. "Next Thursday tells us how well. A week is too long. Radio schedules don't care if you're impatient." She turned toward the rear cabinet. "Could we make the remote line answer before then?" "We can test it. We don't send commands until we know what they do." The buried cable had 4 internal pairs. 2 tested open. 1 showed resistance from equipment somewhere uphill. The 4th carried a weak direct current that should not have been present if every remote unit was dormant. Caleb disconnected his meter and checked it again. "Something is powering the other end," he said. "The transmitter? Maybe a controller. Maybe a repeater cabinet. How many are there? Without Karen's records, we don't know." At 11:20, a car stopped outside. Dawn entered carrying a cardboard file box with both arms. She had dressed as if she were going to a meeting, though mud marked one heel. "I can't stay," she said. She placed the box on the counter and looked at Caleb. "He knows about the radio," Olivia told her. Dawn kept one hand on the box. "These were in Mom's desk. William took them for the estate records. Does he know you brought them?" "I signed them out." "You signed them out?" He made a list. Olivia lifted the lid. Bank statements, tax receipts, equipment invoices, and utility bills filled the box. A black notebook lay along one side. She reached for it. Dawn stopped her. "I need these back by Monday." "Why?" "Because they belong with the estate files. The shop records came with the building. I'm not arguing with you. I'm telling you what William will say." "Did you read the notebook?" "No." Dawn's answer came too quickly. Olivia waited. "I looked at the last page," Dawn admitted. "It's mostly letters and dates." Caleb pulled a clean stool from beneath the counter. "Sit down," he said. "You came all this way. I said I can't stay." "Then stand. But tell us what Karen did on Thursdays." Dawn looked toward the receiver. For years, she had visited her mother on Thursday afternoons with groceries or mail. Karen would accept the bags, put water on for tea, then stop whatever they were discussing before 4. Dawn had resented it. Even after William and Karen stopped speaking regularly, that old receiver still received more reliable attention than either of Karen's grown children. She'd close the door, Dawn said. Then she'd turn that on and wait. "For a voice?" Olivia asked. "Sometimes there were tones, sometimes letters. Once I heard a woman speaking, but Mom made me stop talking so she could listen." "What did the woman say?" "I don't remember." "Something about a sight being clear." "Did Grandma answer?" "Not through that microphone." Dawn pointed toward the rear of the bench. She used a different one, gray, with a red button. Caleb searched the shelf where Karen kept test equipment. The microphone wasn't there. Dawn opened the black notebook and turned several pages. Afterward, she wrote in this. She'd check boxes and make a phone call if something was wrong. To who? She never said. Did you ask? Of course I asked. She told me it was work. There was irritation in Dawn's voice, but it wasn't directed entirely at Olivia. She was beginning to see that Karen had offered her ordinary chances to understand. Dawn had dismissed them because the work looked old and inconvenient. Olivia took the notebook. Each page contained a date, a set of equipment identifiers, signal readings, and short notes. Some entries recorded weather or power trouble. Others listed fuel, replacement cable, battery costs, and hours of labor. The route identifiers from the easement appeared throughout. There are 6 units, Caleb said. He traced them carefully. 1 was marked Foster Base. 3 were described as hill or shoreline relays. 2 carried station codes and compass directions. Olivia turned to the final completed page. Karen had made the last entry 5 days before she died. Carrier received, remote return weak. Base generator battery replaced. Shore Unit 2 requires inspection before fall. Beneath it, she had written an agreement reference beginning with the letters KMC. The same reference appeared every few months beside parts purchases and service hours. What's KMC? Olivia asked. Caleb shook his head. Dawn said, KHMX something, maybe. Olivia searched the papers in the box. An invoice for marine batteries carried the same agreement reference. So did a receipt for antenna hardware. Karen had paid both herself. She was absorbing these costs, Olivia said. Caleb turned back through the notebook. For years. Why? Maybe she billed someone later. There are no matching deposits here. Dawn crossed her arms. You don't have every account. No. William and you kept the accounts. The words landed harder than Olivia meant them to. Dawn picked up her purse. I didn't write the will, I know. I didn't decide you should get a building that needs half its roof replaced. You did tell me to give it back. I was trying to keep you from getting trapped. Were you also trying to keep the estate from paying to demolish it? Dawn looked away. That was answer enough. Olivia closed the notebook. She had wanted Dawn to be the relative who saw her apart from William. For years, she had accepted small kindnesses from her aunt as proof of that. Birthday messages, a card at Christmas, a quiet warning when William was angry. Dawn had cared, but always within the space that cost her nothing. Dawn touched the top of the file box. Monday, she said. You'll have the financial papers Monday. I'm keeping the maintenance log. William will object. He can object to me. Dawn did not argue. That was the first boundary Olivia had set with family, without waiting for anger to make it easier. Before leaving, Dawn paused beside the front door. Mom missed you when you didn't visit. Olivia felt the words in her stomach. I called her. I know. I came when I could. I'm not saying you didn't. It sounded exactly like what Dawn was saying. Olivia looked down at the notebook. There were long gaps in her own visits. She had told herself the shop belonged to the part of her life William had closed off. Karen never asked her to choose that distance, but Olivia had let the building carry it. What happened to the gray microphone? She asked. Dawn considered the question. Mom kept a key around her neck. Small brass one. She wore it under her shirt when she was working. Did you find it after she died? No. Did William? I don't know. Dawn left before Olivia could ask more. For the next 2 hours, Olivia and Caleb copied the notebook entries onto a large sheet of paper. They arranged the 6 identifiers by location and marked every repeated fault. A pattern appeared. Each unit had its own power source. The shop receiver collected the scheduled transmissions. The remote control return allowed Karen to acknowledge them or request another test. When a unit failed, she drove out or sent equipment for repair. This wasn't casual listening, Caleb said. She was maintaining a network. Is it still useful? If anyone depends on it, how do we find that out? We identify KMC. An internet search produced the Kachimak Marine Cooperative, an organization supporting fishing operators and small landing sites around the bay. Its public page listed weather coordination, equipment purchasing, and emergency communications among its services. The office number went to voicemail. Olivia left her name and said she had questions about equipment records connected to Foster Radio and Marine Signal. She did not mention the estate or the shop's condition. Then Caleb found a reference on the inside cover of the maintenance log. KMC Service Agreement, renewed September 2024. Equipment schedule controls. No payment amount appeared. No customer name appeared beside it. Only the agreement reference and the same 6 equipment identifiers. What does equipment schedule controls mean? Olivia asked. It means the identifiers matter more than whatever someone called the job. Does it mean the agreement is still active? It means Karen believed it was active when she wrote that. Olivia searched the box again. The agreement itself was missing. She called Dawn. This time, her aunt answered from her car. Did you see a Kachamak Marine Cooperative Agreement in Grandma's papers? No. Can you check the estate files? I can look. Today. Olivia. It was renewed less than 2 years ago. It's connected to equipment inside my building. Dawn exhaled. All right. At 4:30, the cooperative office returned Olivia's call. The woman gave only her first name and asked for the equipment reference. Olivia read it from the notebook. The woman became quiet. Who are you? She asked. Olivia Foster. Karen Foster was my grandmother. Are you calling for the estate? No, I own the shop now. Do you have the recorded deed? Yes. Send a copy to this address. Don't send anything else yet. Olivia wrote down the email. Can you tell me whether the agreement is active? Not until ownership is verified. Is there someone I should speak to? Our operations director handles that. When will she call? If the deed matches the service property, soon. The call ended. Olivia scanned the deed and sent it before she could ask William whether doing so was wise. Caleb packed his tools near 6. His fish finder sat repaired on the front table. I need to work paying jobs tomorrow, he said. Use the bench. He looked around at the safe front outlets, the cleared surface, and the roof that no longer leaked over it. What would you charge? Olivia had no idea. Karen's old rate sheet was too outdated to help. You fix the generator and help me understand the network, she said. For now, you use the bench. That could turn into a lot of generator. Then we write down the hours. Caleb held out his hand. She shook it. It was not a favor and not rescue. It was the first agreement made inside the shop under Olivia's name. After Caleb left, she carried the maintenance log upstairs. Her phone rang while she was heating canned soup. William's name appeared. He did not ask about her health, the roof, or the first night she had spent in Karen's apartment. Dawn says you found business records, he said. I found the shop's maintenance log. That needs to come back to the estate file. No. The records may relate to estate income. They relate to equipment that came with the property. You don't know that. I know more than I did when you valued it for demolition. William went quiet. Olivia heard paper moving at his end. If you've contacted anyone using those records, you need to stop, he said. Why? Because you could create liability for the estate. The deed is recorded. That doesn't give you authority over contracts Karen signed. A car slowed outside. Its headlights crossed the upstairs wall. Olivia stood and looked through the window. William's truck had stopped across from the shop. He was on the phone, watching the lights in Karen's apartment. I'm offering you a way out before this becomes expensive, he said. Tomorrow morning, we should discuss what the estate will pay to take the property back. Below Olivia, the receiver lamp glowed behind its dusty scale, connected to 6 units William had not known existed when he asked her to surrender the building. Olivia closed the blind. You can come in now if you want, she said into the phone. Tomorrow is better. For who? William ended the call. His truck remained across the street for another minute. Then it pulled away. Olivia carried her soup to the table and opened Karen's notebook beside it. The food cooled while she copied every Kachamak reference onto a separate page. She found 12 entries over 2 years. Most concerned fuel, batteries, antenna parts, and travel time. Karen had paid for all of it before recording the expense. There were no notes complaining about late payment. There were no demands for reimbursement. She had kept doing the work because someone expected the network to function. At 7:40 the next morning, William knocked on the shop door. Olivia was downstairs in socks, trying to connect Karen's old coffee maker to the safe front outlet. She put on her shoes before letting him in. He looked around without stepping far from the entrance. You've moved things. I cleaned one bench. That equipment was part of the inventory. Which equipment? He pointed generally toward the room. All of it. You didn't make an inventory. The estate has photographs. Photographs aren't a list. William removed his gloves one finger at a time. He had come prepared to stay calm. He believed calm made him reasonable, even when he was standing inside someone else's property before breakfast. I spoke to a contractor, he said. The estate could take the building back and cover the demolition. In addition, Dawn and I are willing to pay you $12,000. Olivia stared at him. A week earlier, he had described the property as a burden that could cost $18,000 to remove. Now, it was worth paying her to surrender. What changed? Nothing changed. Then why would you spend $30,000 solving an $18,000 problem? The estate would recover some value from the land. You said the lot had limited value. Limited doesn't mean none. Olivia picked up the maintenance log from behind the counter. William's eyes followed it. That's what changed, she said. You don't know what that book represents. Neither do you. It may record services performed by Mom's business. If money is owed, it belongs to the estate. The equipment came to me. Equipment and income are not the same thing. I haven't claimed any income. Then there's no reason to keep the records. Olivia almost handed him the notebook, just to end the familiar pressure in the room. He had always made surrender sound like the quickest path back to being sensible. She placed the notebook on the bench instead. I'm not selling. William looked toward the staircase. Are you living here now? I stayed last night. The apartment wasn't approved for transfer as a residence. It's part of the building. That doesn't mean it's safe. Neither did Grandma living here, apparently. That didn't bother you until I did it. His mouth tightened. This is exactly what you did before, he said. You take a practical question and turn it into a test of loyalty. Olivia rested both palms on the counter. The accusation hurt, because there was a piece of truth inside it. She had accepted the shop partly because giving it back felt like choosing William over Karen again. She had not asked whether she could maintain a commercial building. She had not counted the full cost. She had made the property carry an old argument before she understood what the property needed. But William had done the same thing. He had called demolition practical because Karen had refused him. I'm getting the building inspected, she said. I'm repairing the equipment. If records belong to the estate, you can identify them one page at a time. You don't take the whole book. That isn't your decision. It is while you're standing in my shop. William put his gloves back on. If you contact Karen's customers, make it clear you have no authority to collect on her accounts. I'll make clear that I own the equipment. That's not the same thing. I know. He had expected confusion. Her answer left him with nowhere useful to go. At the door, he turned. The offer stays open until Monday. Why Monday? Because I won't let probate sit unfinished while you experiment. He left before Caleb arrived. Olivia wrote William's offer and deadline on the same pad where she had recorded the antenna repair. She did it because spoken family conversations had a way of changing later. Caleb read the note when he came in. 12,000 plus demolition? That's what he said. He's eager. He thinks there's estate income connected to the network. Is there? I don't know. Then today we find out what still works. They started with the generator. Its engine ran, but the voltage wandered whenever Caleb added a test load. He traced the problem to a corroded control connection and a worn belt. The belt could be replaced. The control connection cleaned up with patient work. The fuel line was worse. A crack near the fitting released a dark bead of diesel each time the engine vibrated. Caleb shut it down. We don't run this again until the line is replaced. Can we buy one? Not off a shelf. I can make it from rated hose and fittings. How long? A few hours if the supplier has the size. Olivia called. The supplier had it. While Caleb drove to collect the parts, she sorted the papers Dawn had brought. She separated personal tax records from invoices tied to the shop. She copied each shop document, then packed the originals for Dawn. Inside a folder of utility bills, she found a printed equipment schedule. It listed the same 6 identifiers from Karen's notebook. At the bottom was a service address for Kachemak Marine Cooperative and the name Michelle Romero, Operations Director. A handwritten note in Karen's ink read, Owner change requires system inspection. No period was listed. No amount appeared. Olivia was still holding the page when her phone rang. Olivia Foster? A woman asked. Yes. This is Michelle Romero with Kachemak Marine Cooperative. I received your deed. Olivia sat on Caleb's stool. Does it match? It matches the shop address and legal description. I need to confirm something. Did you acquire the receiver, remote control console, and equipment routes with the property? The receiver and the routes, yes. I haven't found the console. There was a pause. Have you transmitted anything? No, we received a scheduled carrier yesterday. We haven't sent commands. Good, don't transmit until the base is tested. Why? Because the station identifiers are coordinated. A bad control signal could interfere with another site. Olivia looked at the equipment schedule. Is the network still being used? It hasn't passed a full check since Karen died. That's not what I asked. Michelle took a breath. Parts of it remain in standby service. Whether the cooperative can rely on it is a separate question. What did Grandma agree to do? I can discuss the service arrangement after I verify the equipment schedule. The deed proves you own the property. It doesn't prove the listed system is intact. I have Karen's maintenance log. That helps. What happens if it isn't intact? The owner change inspection fails. And then? The cooperative makes other arrangements. Olivia heard office sounds behind Michelle. A printer started, and someone closed a door. How much time do I have? 30 days from the deed's recording date. Olivia took the deed from its envelope and found the stamp. 9 days had already passed. Why didn't anyone tell me? The notice went to the estate contact. William. Was it acknowledged? Yes. By who? I can't discuss the estate's communication with you. I can send the notice directly now that your ownership is confirmed. Please do. Michelle asked for photographs of the receiver, the serial plate, the remote cabinet, and the maintenance log's latest entries. She also requested the identifiers from the equipment schedule. I'll review them, she said. If they match our copy, I'll arrange the next step. Can you tell me what the arrangement is worth? Not until I know what remains operational. Does my father know? I have not discussed the service terms with William Foster. That answer relieved Olivia and unsettled her at the same time. Michelle continued. Karen never missed a weekly acknowledgement without calling ahead. When she stopped, we assumed the estate would contact us. The estate was going to demolish the shop. This time, Michelle's silence lasted longer. Send the photographs, she said. Today, if possible. The call ended. Olivia received the inspection notice by email. It named the equipment identifiers, required a working base receiver, generator backup, remote control, and successful communication with the linked stations. Failure within 30 days allowed the cooperative to close the service file and relocate its operations. It did not state the agreement's value. Caleb returned carrying hose, fittings, and a new belt. Olivia showed him the notice. 21 days, he said. Can we do it? I don't know. What do we need? He read the list again. The generator is manageable. The receiver works. The antenna feed is new. The remote control is the problem because we haven't found the console. Dawn said Grandma used a gray microphone. A microphone isn't a console. Maybe she called the whole thing a microphone. Maybe. They searched the west bench methodically. Every drawer came out. They found fuses, old manuals, solder, and envelopes filled with cable labels. Behind the lowest drawer, Olivia's flashlight caught a strip of gray metal. Caleb removed the drawer rails. A narrow panel had been built into the back of the bench. Its paint matched the wall, and its lock was small enough for the brass key Dawn remembered. They did not have the key. Can you open it? Olivia asked. Without damaging it, not today. Is there another way in? Caleb examined the bench from below. The hidden compartment extended into the wall above the cable chase. If we remove the whole bench, maybe, but the antenna lines run through it, and we could break something we just repaired. Olivia photographed the panel and sent the required images to Michelle. She included a picture of the locked compartment. Michelle replied within 10 minutes. The visible serials match our schedule. Locate the base control unit. Do not force the enclosure. That was useful confirmation. The equipment Karen recorded was the same equipment the cooperative recognized. It also meant the compartment mattered enough for Michelle to warn them against opening it badly. Caleb repaired the generator fuel line and installed the belt. When he started the engine, the voltage held steady under load. Inside, the local power lamp glowed without flickering. The remote ready lamp remained dark. One required system had returned. Another was still beyond reach. Olivia called Dawn. I need Grandma's brass key. I told you, I don't know where it is. Did the funeral home return her personal effects? Yes? To who? Dawn didn't answer. Aunt Dawn. William collected them. Was there a necklace? I saw a small envelope. I didn't open it. Olivia looked toward the hidden panel. Ask him for it. He'll ask why. Tell him the truth. He offered you money, didn't he? 12,000. Dawn breathed out slowly. That's more than I expected. You knew he was making an offer? We discussed getting the property settled. Before or after you saw the notebook? Olivia, the estate has expenses. The estate also received an inspection notice 9 days ago. Dawn said nothing. Did you know? No. Olivia believed her. If that notice went to William, Dawn said, he may think anything connected to the agreement belongs to the estate. He can think it. I still need the key. I'll talk to him. Today. Dawn's voice hardened. You don't get to order me around because Mom left you a building. No. I get to ask for property that opens equipment inside my building. After the call, Olivia packed the estate papers into Dawn's box. She set it near the front door, ready to return. Then she made a copy of the inspection notice and placed it beside William's written offer. She had 21 days to restore a system she had not known existed, and the only key to its control unit was in the hands of the man who now knew the silent shop could carry active business. At 9 the next morning, Dawn returned with the cardboard box and a padded envelope. She placed both on the counter. I told William the shop records should stay here until the equipment question is settled, she said. What did he say? You can imagine, Olivia could. And the key? Dawn tapped the envelope. The funeral home listed it as a work key. He had no reason to keep it once I showed him the wording. Did he give it to you? He put it on his desk. I picked it up. Olivia looked at her. I didn't steal it, Dawn said. I signed the personal effects sheet. He watched me. Thank you? Don't thank me yet. He thinks I'm helping you make a claim against the estate. I'm trying to open a cabinet. I know that. He doesn't. Dawn's voice carried the strain of someone who had spent years avoiding direct disagreement and had just discovered avoidance came with its own bill. He asked whether you contacted the cooperative, she said. What did you tell him? That I didn't know. You do know. I didn't then. Olivia let that pass. Dawn took the disclaimer form from her purse. William had attached it to a new note reminding Olivia that his offer expired Monday. He wants you to sign while the estate can still reverse the transfer cleanly. I'm not signing, I figured. Dawn looked around the shop. The generator hummed steadily outside. Caleb's repaired fish finder sat ready for collection. Fresh cable ran neatly along the west bench. This looks better, she said. It is better. That doesn't mean it's safe. No, that's why I'm fixing it. Dawn studied Olivia for a moment, then left without asking for the key back. Caleb arrived 10 minutes later. Olivia handed him the envelope. The brass key was small and dark from years against Karen's skin. A loop of faded cord remained tied through its top. It entered the hidden lock, but stopped halfway. Don't force it, Caleb said. I wasn't. You were thinking loudly. He cleaned the lock with compressed air, added a drop of lubricant, and worked the key gently. On the third attempt, it turned. The narrow panel opened toward them. Inside sat a gray metal control unit no wider than a kitchen drawer. 6 rows of lamps and switches covered its face. The gray microphone rested in a bracket on the right side, its red button protected by a raised metal ring. Folded route maps filled a slot beneath it. A packet of spare fuses and control relays had been taped to the wall. No money, no deed, no letter explaining why Karen had kept it hidden. Olivia was relieved. A simple piece of equipment could be tested. A message from Karen would have asked for something harder. Caleb photographed the unit before touching any connection. Its serial number matched the equipment schedule. Found the base control, he said. They removed the dust with a soft brush. The power cable ran beneath the floor to the battery cabinet. A second cable connected to the buried return line. Caleb tested the voltage and replaced one corroded fuse from Karen's spare packet. When he switched the unit on, the local power lamp in the rear cabinet stayed green. The remote ready lamp flashed once, then turned amber. On the console, 3 of the 6 station rows showed dim status lights. 2 remained dark. The last blinked red at regular intervals. Olivia leaned close. What does red mean? I need the manual. They found it folded behind the route maps. Karen had written notes in the margins. Red blink meant a remote unit was sending a fault condition. Dark meant no return at all. 3 dim green lamps meant the control path could see those stations, though it did not prove their transmitters worked. The system was larger than a receiver, waiting for one weekly signal. It had been built to check, wake, and route 6 separate sites from Karen's bench. Caleb pointed toward the microphone. We still don't press that. I know. You're looking at it. I can look. Olivia sent Michelle photographs of the open console and its serial plate. Michelle called within half an hour. "You found it intact," she said. "Mostly." 3 stations respond. 2 are dark. 1 shows a fault. "Which one?" Olivia read the identifier. "That's the shore relay north of the bay," Michelle said. "Karen noted battery trouble there in June." "Who uses it?" "The cooperative uses the system when normal coverage fails. Fishing operators, landing crews, maintenance boats. It also carries scheduled safety checks between sites." "Does anyone depend on it right now?" "We have temporary coverage. It's not equal coverage." Michelle explained it plainly. Cell service around the bay had gaps. Ordinary marine radios worked vessel to vessel, but terrain blocked signals between some landing sites and Homer. Karen's repeaters received those calls and passed them along. The network could keep a weak transmission moving until someone at the base heard it. Replacing the system would require new sites, permissions, equipment, and testing. It would not happen in 20 days. Olivia looked at the row of lights. "So, if we fail inspection, there's a gap." "There's already a gap," Michelle said. "Right now, we're working around it." "Why didn't the cooperative maintain the stations after Grandma died?" "The service agreement places maintenance on Foster Base." "That's me now?" "That's what must be determined. I own Foster Base. You own the property and listed equipment. I'm not disputing that. The service role depends on the inspection and agreement terms." "Can you send me the agreement?" "I can bring our copy when we perform the authentication test." "Why not email it?" "Because the equipment schedule is part of the signed original, and our procedure requires us to compare both copies at the operating site." Olivia glanced at Karen's notebook. "I don't have Grandma's copy. Then we'll use the maintenance record in our copy. But the system has to operate first." "What exactly has to pass?" Michelle listed the requirements: stable receiver operation, generator backup under load, correct station identifiers, remote acknowledgement from each linked unit, a live communication test during the scheduled window. Olivia wrote until her hand hurt. "Do I need a license?" she asked. "The base operation must be supervised and authenticated by a licensed radio engineer. I can arrange one test. I can't supply your repairs. Can Caleb perform them? If he's competent, yes. The engineer only confirms the system identity and test result." Caleb raised an eyebrow when Olivia repeated competent. Michelle continued. "I need to be clear. If you restore this, you aren't restoring a display. The owner is responsible for maintenance and on-call response under the agreement. How often? We discuss duties after inspection. You keep saying after, because an agreement tied to dead equipment is only paper." Olivia understood the better than any legal explanation. After the call, Caleb spread the route maps across the front table. The 6 sites reached farther than either of them expected. 2 stood on cooperative-controlled ground. 1 used the communications easement behind the shop. The others connected through existing service routes Karen had marked. Caleb estimated the parts they could already identify: batteries for 2 sites, weatherproof connectors, replacement control relays, fuel, cable, a safe roof access point. The total passed $3,000 before travel or hidden faults. "I have about 4,700 left," Olivia said. Caleb looked up. "Total?" "After the utility deposit and supplies. That needs to cover the building too." "I know. The upstairs plumbing hasn't been pressure tested. The furnace is off. Your roof repair is still temporary." "I know. You could spend everything and fail the inspection." "I know, Caleb." He stopped. Olivia sat across from him. She rubbed a dark mark left by the brass key from her thumb. "Would you do it?" she asked. "That isn't a fair question." "Why?" "Because I need the bench. Karen mattered to me. And I know enough about this equipment to believe I can fix it. Those are 3 reasons to make a bad business decision. What would make it a good one? Knowing the agreement terms. We don't get those until it works. That's the trap. It was also the choice Karen had left inside the shop. Not a prize someone could lift out and spend. Work had to come first. Olivia took out her checkbook. "What are you doing?" "Ordering the batteries and control parts. Not all of them. The 2 failed sites need batteries. 1 probably does. The other might have a broken return line. We inspect before buying. Fine. We order 1 battery, the relays, connectors, and cable. That's still over 1,000. Then write the order." Caleb did not move. "Your labor goes in the book too," Olivia said. "Every hour." "I agreed to bench time. You agreed before we knew this was 6 sites. What happens if there's no paid agreement? I owe you. With what? The shop earns it back, or I pay in installments from my job. You can't do this in your office job full time. Olivia knew that. She had missed 2 mornings already and used most of her remaining vacation hours. Her supervisor had approved Friday off, but warned that another unscheduled absence would be unpaid. I'll take 2 weeks unpaid, she said. That leaves you without wages and with less savings. Yes, your father's going to say you're proving his point. The words landed because Olivia had already heard them in William's voice. She looked at the console again. The red fault lamp continued blinking with the patient regularity of equipment that did not care about family history. When I accepted this place, I wanted him to be wrong, she said. I wanted the shop to be worth keeping, so he'd have to admit he was wrong. Caleb waited. That isn't enough now. What is? Those stations need a working base. Grandma kept them running until 5 days before she died. If I walk away, I need it to be because I can't do the work, not because William offered me a cleaner exit. Caleb considered that. You'll need training, he said, not just money. Then teach me. I can teach you repairs and operating procedure. I can't make you ready for every call in 20 days. Start with today. He turned the order sheet toward her. They cut 1 battery, 2 unnecessary spare assemblies, and a full cable roll from the first list. They kept the parts needed to diagnose each site before replacing anything. Olivia paid just over $1,100. Then she called her office and requested unpaid leave through the week of the inspection. Her supervisor approved it, but said her position could not remain uncovered beyond that date. When the call ended, Olivia had 20 days to pass the test, less than $3,600 in savings, and a job waiting only if she returned on time. Caleb gave her a pair of work gloves. First lesson, he said. A dark status light doesn't tell you what failed. It only tells you where to begin. They spent the afternoon tracing the route connected to the blinking shore relay. Olivia learned to read voltage at the controller, identify a clean ground, and record the result without guessing. Just before 6, she found a loose return connector Caleb had overlooked beneath the cabinet. She tightened it and watched the red lamp become a steady green. 1 fault down, she said. Caleb checked her work before answering. 1 fault down. Olivia crossed that line off the inspection list. Then she wrote the next failed station beneath it and circled the route they would follow in the morning. The route began behind the rear cabinet and crossed the alley through the recorded easement. At 8 the next morning, Olivia called Michelle with the first station identifier. We're inspecting the hill relay, she said. Does the cooperative control access? It's on an easement tied to Foster Base. I'll send you the gate instructions. I also need the last recorded reading from that unit. Michelle gave it to her without asking why. Olivia had stopped calling for reassurance. She asked for facts, wrote them down, and moved to the next task. Caleb loaded test equipment into his van. Olivia brought Karen's route map, the maintenance log, a battery pack, and a thermos of coffee. Before leaving, she taped a note inside the shop window. The lettering leaned slightly uphill. Caleb read it from the sidewalk. You reopened fast. I didn't say we were fully open. You said, repair. Can you repair things? Usually. Then it's accurate. He took a photograph for his customers. They followed the easement road above town. Pavement gave way to packed gravel, then 2 muddy tracks between spruce trees. Karen's map marked a turn beside an old utility pole. Olivia missed it the first time and had to reverse. The gate was a steel cable stretched between posts. Michelle's instructions opened a lockbox fixed to one end. Beyond it, the road climbed sharply. Caleb parked before a washed-out section and studied the remaining distance. About half a mile, he said. Olivia shouldered the battery pack. You carried the lighter case, he said. I noticed. The trail was wet and uneven. Mosquitoes gathered around their faces whenever they stopped. Olivia's new gloves were already muddy by the time they reached the relay. The equipment cabinet stood on a concrete base above the trees. A short antenna mast rose beside it. Solar panels faced south from a metal frame. Nothing about it looked valuable. Gray paint, locked doors, cable conduit, and weeds. Yet from that height, they could see the harbor and a wide stretch of water beyond it. Caleb checked the station code before using Karen's route key. It opened the outer cabinet. Inside, the charge controller was dark. Olivia read the checklist aloud. Disconnect load, confirm battery voltage, inspect ground, test panel input. Good, Caleb said. Do it in that order. She measured the battery, low, but not dead. The solar panels produced no reading at the controller. The panels are in sunlight, she said. Then either the cable is open or the controller is bad. They traced the cable. It entered the cabinet through a weather seal, crossed behind the mounting plate, and disappeared beneath a bundle of wires. Caleb began removing the plate. "Wait," Olivia said. Near the lower corner, a black cable bent at an angle Karen would never have allowed. Its insulation was intact, but the retaining clip had broken. Each time the cabinet door closed, it pressed the cable against the metal edge. Olivia moved it. The controller flashed. Caleb stopped. "Do that again." She released the cable. The display went dark. She lifted it, and the display returned. "Broken conductor inside the insulation," he said. "Can we replace that section? You tell me." Olivia looked at the spare cable, connectors, and tools they had carried uphill. "Yes." Caleb handed her the cutters. He watched while she isolated the panel, removed the damaged length, and crimped new connectors. Her first crimp failed the pull test. She cut it off and did it again. The second held. When she restored the connection, the charge controller showed current from the solar panels. The battery voltage began rising by small amounts. Caleb checked every step. "That part's fixed," he said. "Will the base see it? Once the station has enough charge to start the return unit." They ate sandwiches beside the cabinet while they waited. Olivia's boots were damp inside. Her office would have been warm and dry. She pictured her desk, the stack of forms someone else was handling, and the unpaid hours accumulating. She did not wish she were there. At 11:20, the relay controller started. A green indicator appeared beside the return transmitter. Caleb called the shop receiver through a remote monitoring application connected to his equipment. The connection was too limited to hear audio, but he could see the status change. The hill relay had returned. Olivia wrote the repair in Karen's maintenance log beneath the final entry. She included the cable length, both voltage readings, and the time the unit came back. Her handwriting looked too round beside Karen's square letters. Caleb read it. "Add the weather." Why? Karen always did. Cold and moisture changed the readings. Olivia added cool, damp, clear. On the walk down, her phone found service near the gate. 4 messages arrived. One was from a customer asking Caleb whether the Pioneer Avenue address was correct. 2 were from Dawn. The last was from William. "Do not represent yourself as operating Karen's business. Call me today." Olivia showed Caleb. "How did he know?" he asked. She opened the photograph he had posted for customers. The shop sign and Olivia's handwritten notice were visible behind his repair table. "Did you send this to Dawn?" "I sent it to 4 customers. Homer did the rest." Olivia put the phone away. "Aren't you calling him?" "No." That answer surprised both of them. Back at the shop, the 4th station lamp glowed green. 1 station remained dark. The 6th, the base receiver itself, showed ready. Caleb's customer arrived to collect the repaired fish finder. He was a commercial fisherman with a cap bleached nearly white from weather. He paid Caleb at the front counter and looked around. "Good to see this place working again," he said. "Karen fixed a radio for me the morning I was heading out. Wouldn't charge rush fees." "That sounds like her," Olivia said. "Will you be doing marine sets?" "Caleb will. I'm working on the repeater system." The man nodded toward the west bench. "That old network still alive?" "Parts of it. Lost a lot of clear reach when it went quiet." Olivia looked at him. "You noticed?" Everybody past the easy towers noticed. He carried his fish finder out without explaining further. He had come for a repair, not to deliver a speech. The fact remained after he left. The gap Michelle described was not confined to a cooperative file. People on the water could hear it. Caleb entered the payment in his own invoice book. "First customer since you turned the lights on," he said. "Your customer, my work, your bench." He removed cash for the repair, then placed $20 in the yellow mug. "What's that?" "Bench use. We agreed on labor, and now I have customers coming here. Electricity isn't free." Olivia took the money from the mug and entered it on a clean page titled Shop Income. It was a small amount, but it changed the room. The shop had earned something without selling a wall, a memory, or a promise. Dawn arrived just after 2. She stood outside reading the notice before coming in. "You put the name back up. The sign was already there. You know what I mean?" Olivia gave her the box of financial records. "Everything William listed is inside. I copied the shop invoices. The maintenance log stays here. Dawn inspected the box, but did not open it. William says you're using Mom's business name. It's the building's name. He says the estate may own it. Then he can show me the record. He says you contacted one of Mom's clients. The cooperative contacted me after verifying the deed. That isn't how he described it. Olivia placed the inspection notice on the counter. Read that. Dawn read the first page. Her eyes stopped at the deadline. 20 days? 19 now. And you think you can fix 6 sites? 4 respond. The base works. We repaired one this morning. Dawn turned toward the console. 4 green lamps stood in a row. She had seen Karen sit before them, without ever asking what each one meant. What happens if you pass? She asked. I learned the agreement terms. You don't know them? Neither does William. Dawn folded the notice along its existing crease. He thinks you found something worth hiding. I found work. That's not what he's worried about. I know. Dawn lowered her voice. If there's money connected to a contract Mom signed, William will argue it should be divided. The cooperative told me the service role depends on the equipment and the shop owner. Depends how the agreement is written. Yes. You sound very sure for someone who hasn't seen it. I'm sure what needs fixing today. Dawn looked at the mud on Olivia's jeans and the fresh entry in Karen's notebook. For the first time, she could not tell herself Olivia had accepted the shop out of impulse. The building was changing because Olivia was working inside it. That made Dawn proud, and the pride frightened her. It placed her on a side she had spent years pretending not to choose. William wants a family meeting, Sunday, she said. I'm busy Sunday. He'll come here, then he can watch us work. Dawn picked up the file box. Be careful, Liv. With what? Making this place your whole life before you know whether it can support you. Olivia glanced toward the upstairs window. It's supporting more than me. Dawn left with the records. Caleb spent the afternoon testing the remaining dark station from the base. Its buried return pair showed continuity, but it did not respond to the control pulse. Karen's map placed it at a cooperative landing site across the water. We can't drive there, Olivia said. We can ask Michelle for access. Olivia called immediately. Michelle listened to their readings and authorized a site visit for Monday morning. The cooperative could provide transport, but Olivia and Caleb had to bring their own repair equipment. Bring the maintenance log, Michelle said. I want to compare the identifier on site. Will you be there? Yes. The larger conflict had moved beyond the shop. Michelle would see Olivia's work directly, and the final dark station could no longer remain an abstract fault on a console. Near closing time, William left a voicemail. He said the estate would formally review whether Olivia had authority to operate under Karen's business arrangements. He also instructed her not to alter any equipment that might have produced estate income before Karen's death. Olivia saved the message. Then she photographed the 4 green station lamps, the generator reading, and the day's maintenance entry. She emailed them to Michelle and copied Dawn. William had wanted every fact to pass through him. Olivia's new plan gave each fact a date, a reading, and someone outside the family who could verify it. At 6, she turned the shop notice around so it remained visible from the street. Across Pioneer Avenue, William sat in his parked truck with his phone raised toward the front window. This time, Olivia did not close the blind. William lowered the phone when he saw her looking at him. He drove away without coming inside. The next morning, Caleb received 2 calls from customers asking whether Foster Radio was legally open. One kept his appointment. The other said he would wait until things were settled. Settled by who? Olivia asked. He didn't say. Caleb put down his phone. He didn't have to. William had not accused them of bad repairs. He had done something more effective. He had made the shop sound uncertain. Olivia saved the canceled appointment in the shop record. Then she called William. Are you contacting Caleb's customers? No. Are you telling people the shop isn't allowed to operate? I answered questions about the estate. What questions? Whether you inherited Karen's business. I inherited the building and equipment. That wasn't the question. You know exactly what you're doing, and you don't. His voice remained quiet. Using Mom's trade name could expose you personally. Accepting work connected to her service arrangements could expose the estate. I'm not going to ignore that because you've decided cleaning a bench makes you an operator. Olivia looked at the maintenance log lying open before her. I repaired a relay yesterday. With whose authorization? The property easement and the cooperative. Mom installed equipment outside the building. That equipment may belong to the estate. It's listed with the system attached to the shop. According to a notebook, you won't return. According to the cooperative's equipment schedule. William paused. That was new information to him. Send me the schedule, he said. No, as executor, I'm entitled to review it. Ask the cooperative. I will. After the call, Olivia told Caleb what she had said. You gave him a target, he said. He already had one. Now he knows where to aim. By Sunday afternoon, the family meeting William requested had become unavoidable. He arrived at the shop with Dawn and a thin folder. Caleb was repairing a marine radio at the front bench. He offered to leave. No, Olivia said. You work here. William's eyes moved to the soldering station and the invoice book. That's part of the problem. It's part of the rent arrangement, Olivia said. There is no written lease. There will be. William placed the folder on the counter. I sent notice to the cooperative that the estate disputes any transfer of Karen's outstanding business contracts and any equipment located outside the Pioneer Avenue parcel. Dawn stared at him. You didn't tell me you'd already sent it? I told you I was protecting the estate. You said we were coming to talk. We are talking. Olivia opened the folder. The notice did not claim the shop deed was invalid. William could not make that claim. It said, Karen's contracts, unpaid services, trade name, and remote equipment might remain estate property unless the transfer document specifically included them. You don't even know whether there's money owed, Olivia said. That's why it needs review. You were going to demolish the base those contracts depend on, because nobody disclosed an active service arrangement. Grandma's records were in the box you took. I'm not a radio technician. A page of station codes means nothing without context. It meant enough after Dawn told you about the notebook. William glanced at his sister. Dawn looked down. She had told him because she wanted to lower the tension. Instead, she had given him the fact he needed to widen the dispute. What do you want me to call the building? Your property address. Caleb set down his soldering iron. The sign has been on the building for years, he said. This is a family estate matter. It became my matter when you called my customers. I didn't call your customers. You spoke to people who knew how to reach them. William turned to Olivia. This is what happens when you involve other people before ownership is clear. Olivia almost laughed. William had involved the cooperative, Dawn, Caleb's customers, and anyone who would listen to his careful concern. Yet he still spoke as if Olivia had made the conflict public by opening her own door. Dawn touched the folder. What if the agreement is divided? She asked. Olivia looked at her. What do you mean? If there's income tied to work Mom arranged, some could go to the estate. You could keep the building and operate the equipment. William could close probate. We don't know the terms. I know. I'm saying there may be a fair way. Fair to who? To everybody. Caleb stood and carried the radio into the back room. He understood Dawn wanted privacy, though she had not earned it. William said, Dawn and I are the beneficiaries of Karen's remaining business assets. You received the real property. I received what you called a liability. That doesn't give you the rest. I haven't asked for the rest. You're pursuing it. I'm repairing the system. For an agreement. For an inspection. Because you expect money. Olivia did expect money. She needed it. Her savings were disappearing, and her wages had stopped. Pretending otherwise would make William's argument stronger. Yes, she said. If the agreement belongs to the owner who does the work, I expect to be paid. If it belongs to the estate, show me the clause. William had no clause. Dawn spoke softly. Would you give us something if it turns out to be substantial? Olivia felt the old pull to reassure her. Dawn wanted a promise before any of them knew the duty, cost, or value. She wanted Olivia to preserve the family balance by offering up part of whatever she might earn. I won't divide work I haven't done and money I haven't seen. That isn't what I asked, it is. Dawn's face closed. William took the folder back. The cooperative will not allow Monday's site visit while ownership is disputed. Olivia stood. You had them cancel it? I informed them of a valid estate issue. Their decision is their own. The deadline is running. Then stop spending money until the issue is resolved, and let the inspection fail. That may be the responsible outcome. The words settled over the repair floor. William had finally said what he wanted. Not proof, not a careful review. He wanted time to defeat the system for him. Olivia walked to the door and opened it. You can leave now. Dawn remained beside the counter. Liv, don't do this. I'm not discussing a share before I know what the agreement requires. I'm talking about the family. So am I. William passed her without another word. Dawn followed, carrying the file folder because he left it behind. After their car disappeared, Caleb returned from the back room. You all right? No. Good answer. She shut the door. Michelle called 20 minutes later. I received the executor's notice, she said. Is the visit canceled? The cooperative cannot let either side alter equipment at our landing site while control is disputed. The deed includes the equipment routes. The remote unit sits on cooperative ground. Your deed is evidence, but it isn't the agreement. Then bring the agreement. I'm trying to move the authentication forward. How? Michelle explained that the licensed engineer could compare Karen's maintenance log, the shop equipment, the cooperative's signed schedule, and the live station identifiers. If those matched, the cooperative could determine whether the remote equipment belonged to the base system described in the agreement. When can that happen? Olivia asked. The engineer is available Thursday during the weekly test window. The final station is dark. I know. How do we make a live test with a dead station we can't access? Michelle was quiet. I can authorize a limited diagnostic visit if both possible claimants agree not to treat the repair as proof of ownership. William won't agree. He doesn't need to participate. The estate's notice only asserts a possible interest. You can sign as the person doing the work and accept the cost without prejudice to the final decision, meaning, if the agreement does not succeed to you, you cannot bill the cooperative or the estate for Monday's repair. Olivia looked at the remaining savings total on her pad. What about transport? You pay it. How much? Michelle gave her the figure. With the likely battery, fittings, and Caleb's hours, the visit could cost nearly $900. And if we repair it, William could still claim it for the estate? Yes. Could he take the shop? Your deed says he cannot. I won't answer beyond that. The building remained hers. The work might not. That was the choice William had created. Olivia asked Michelle to send the limited access form. Caleb read it beside her. You don't have to sign today. The engineer comes Thursday. We could wait for the agreement review. We lose 4 days and reach the test with a dark station. You could lose the money, I know, and if William's right, you repair equipment the estate may own. I know. Caleb leaned against the bench. Then why do it? Olivia looked at the green lamps on the console and the single dark row between them. The first week, she had repaired the shop to prove she deserved what Karen left. Then she had repaired the network because it might support a business. Now, neither reason was secure. The dark relay still covered the same water. Because the station needs to work before anyone can decide who gets paid for it, she said. She signed the form. Then she wrote a separate agreement with Caleb. His labor would be recorded at his normal rate. If the cooperative agreement passed to Olivia, he would be paid from the first service payment. If it did not, she would pay him monthly until the balance was cleared. Caleb read it twice. This could take you a long time. Yes. He signed. Olivia paid the transport deposit and ordered the battery recommended by Karen's last reading. Her savings fell below $2,500. On Monday morning, she removed the handwritten notice from the front window. William's pressure had made the wording a distraction. In its place, she taped a plain sheet, carrying only the shop's recorded name, hours, and Caleb's repair number. Then she picked up the battery with both hands and carried it to the waiting cooperative boat. The battery weighed more by the time Olivia reached the dock. Caleb took one end before she dropped it. You could have waited, he said. I made it this far. That isn't the same as carrying it safely. They loaded it beside the tool cases. Michelle stood near the boat cabin, checking their names against the limited access form. She wore waterproof trousers and a blue jacket, with the cooperative's mark over one pocket. At 46, she moved with the quick economy of someone used to weather-changing plans. Once we reach the site, I control access, she said. Caleb supervises the electrical work. Olivia records the equipment identifiers and repairs. Nobody sends a voice transmission. Caleb nodded. Olivia asked, Can we send a station test? Automated identifier only, after I approve it. The crossing took nearly an hour. Low clouds covered the higher ground, and the boat struck each short wave hard enough to rattle the tools. The landing site consisted of a steel ramp, 2 storage buildings, and an equipment shelter above the tide line. No one waited for them. The cooperative had suspended ordinary work there until the ownership issue was clearer. Michelle unlocked the shelter. The relay cabinet stood against the rear wall. Its station identifier matched the final dark row on Karen's console. Olivia read it aloud while Michelle compared it with a page from the cooperative file. Correct, Michelle said. What page is that? Olivia asked. The equipment schedule attached to Karen's agreement. Can I see the rest? Thursday. You brought it with you? I brought the schedule needed for this visit, Olivia wanted to argue. Then she looked at the dead controller and remembered why they had crossed the water. Caleb opened the cabinet. Salt had formed a white crust around the lower vent. The battery case had swollen slightly. Karen's final note had been right. The unit had been failing before she died. Caleb disconnected it and tested the charging circuit. No useful battery voltage, he said. Solar input is present. Olivia recorded both readings. They lifted the dead battery out together. Acid residue had marked the tray beneath it, though the case had not opened. Olivia cleaned the tray while Caleb checked the cables. One terminal connector cracked when he moved it. We didn't bring that size, he said. Olivia searched Karen's maintenance list. She used a reducer here 2 years ago. That would explain the mismatched terminal. Can we make another? Not one I'd leave in service. Michelle checked the time. The boat has to depart by 3. Caleb looked through his fittings. I can rebuild the cable end if I shorten it. How much shorter? Olivia asked. 4 inches. Does it still reach without tension? He held the cable along the route. Barely. Olivia studied the cabinet. The battery tray could move closer if they used the unused mounting holes on the left. What if we shift the tray? Caleb looked where she pointed. That gives us 6 inches. Would Karen have done it that way? She would have complained about the original layout first. They removed the tray and remounted it. Olivia drilled the final hole while Caleb held the metal steady. She had used a drill many times, but never on equipment that affected anything beyond the room around her. The bit caught near the end and twisted her wrist. She released the trigger immediately. Caleb checked her hand. Pain? A little. Grip? She closed her fingers. Fine. Then slow down. On the second attempt, the hole went through cleanly. They installed the new battery, rebuilt the cable end, and restored the charging circuit. The controller started. A fault lamp appeared, then cleared after the unit completed its internal check. Michelle compared the serial plates on the relay, controller, and return transmitter with the cooperative schedule. All 3 match, she said. Does that settle whether it belongs to the base system? Olivia asked. It settles that this unit is listed as part of the system. That isn't the same answer. It's the answer I can give before the complete review. Caleb connected his portable receiver. Michelle authorized the automated test. The station transmitted a short carrier, followed by electronic tones. Its identifier appeared on Caleb's display. There was no spoken voice, but the code matched Karen's log and the cooperative schedule exactly. Olivia wrote the result beneath the repair entry. For the first time since Karen died, every listed station could send a valid identifier. That removed the largest technical uncertainty. The network was not a collection of unrelated equipment Karen happened to service. 6 matching units answered as one system tied to the base console. Michelle signed the site entry as witness to the serials and test. Will you send this to William? Olivia asked. I'll send the same result to both claimants. I'm the owner, you own the base property. He represents the estate's claim to Karen's business assets. Thursday's review determines how the agreement handles that difference. Olivia closed the maintenance log. What if he refuses to come? He doesn't have to attend. The engineer tests the equipment either way. And Dawn, her account of Karen's routine may confirm continuity. It doesn't create ownership. Authority would confirm the system. It would not choose Olivia because her story hurt more. On the ride back, Olivia sat inside the cabin with ice wrapped around her wrist. Caleb entered his labor hours into the notebook she had given him. You did good work, he said. I nearly broke my hand. You released the drill. That's a low standard. It's an important one. Michelle sat across from them. There's something you need to decide before Thursday, she said to Olivia. What? If the agreement succeeds to the property owner, the duties succeed too. You don't get a separate choice after hearing the financial terms. I can't see the terms before accepting them. You can refuse succession after review. You cannot accept the payment provision and reject maintenance, inspection, and on-call service. Olivia looked at the water through the cabin window. How much on-call service? I'll explain it with the agreement present. You're asking me to prepare for a decision without letting me read the decision. I'm asking whether you intend to operate a working emergency system. If you only intend to establish value and sell it, tell me now. Olivia thought of William's $12,000 offer. She thought of Dawn asking for a division, before any of them knew what had to be maintained. She thought of the fisherman who had noticed when coverage went quiet. "I intend to operate it," she said. Michelle watched her. "Then, Thursday is not only an ownership test. What else is it? A commitment." Back in Homer, the receiver console showed 6 green station lamps. Caleb verified each return signal from the bench. Olivia stood beside him, with her wrist wrapped, and recorded the time. The system was ready for a live test, but the shop was not ready for the people who would attend it. They spent Tuesday making the repair floor safe. Caleb secured loose cables. Olivia cleared boxes from the rear wall and moved Karen's personal things upstairs. They borrowed 2 folding chairs from the apartment and cleaned the front windows. She also paid for a commercial building inspection. The inspector found no immediate structural failure, but the roof needed replacement before heavy winter weather. The upstairs plumbing held pressure. The furnace required repair before use. The written report removed another uncertainty. Olivia could continue occupying the apartment with electric heat and smoke detectors, but the building would require money soon. Her remaining savings could not cover the roof. On Wednesday morning, Michelle emailed the Thursday procedure. The licensed radio engineer would arrive at 3. He would inspect the receiver, generator, control console, and serial numbers. At 4, Michelle would transmit from the remote cooperative station. Foster Base had to receive her identifier and voice, then return the correct acknowledgement. Michelle would bring the cooperative's signed agreement copy. Olivia would bring the deed and Karen's original maintenance log. William and Dawn were copied. William replied to everyone. "The estate does not consent to transfer of any contract right or business asset. Attendance does not waive that position." Olivia read the sentence twice. Caleb stood beside the receiver, testing the gray microphone cable. "You could tell him he isn't allowed inside," he said. "It's my shop. I could. Michelle doesn't need him there." "No." And Dawn already gave her statement by email. Dawn had confirmed Karen performed the weekly checks for years. She described the receiver, gray microphone, black notebook, and regular Thursday schedule. She did not claim to understand the agreement. Olivia could hold the test without either relative. If the documents favored her, Michelle could send the result afterward. William would learn he had lost control from an email. For a few seconds, the idea felt clean. Then Olivia imagined Karen's table with one corner of her photograph folded away. She did not want to build ownership by deciding inconvenient family members should only see the result after everyone else. "He can come," she said. "So can Dawn. That might make the test harder. It won't change the signal. No, it might change you." Olivia knew that too. If William watched the deed, identifiers, agreement, and live test come together, their relationship would lose its remaining ambiguity. He could no longer tell himself she had wandered into property she did not understand. Olivia could no longer wait for him to recognize her without being forced. She replied to the group. "The shop will be open for the scheduled inspection. William and Dawn may attend as observers. No equipment or records leave the building." William did not respond. Dawn called that evening. "You don't have to let us come," she said. "I know. William thinks you're arranging this to embarrass him. I'm arranging it because he made a claim. He may say things about the years you weren't here. Will you?" "No." "Then tell the truth about what you saw Grandma do." Dawn's voice softened. "What if the agreement belongs to you?" "Then I'll accept it if I can do the work. And if it belongs to the estate, I'll finish the repairs I agreed to finish. You do all this and let us have it, I'd honor the documents." Dawn was quiet. Olivia continued. "But I'm not promising you part of something before we know whose duties come with it. I understand." It was not forgiveness or agreement. It was the first time Dawn had answered without asking Olivia to make the uncertainty comfortable. At 3 on Thursday, Olivia placed the recorded deed, Karen's maintenance log, the inspection notice, and every repair entry in a straight line on the front counter. Caleb started the generator and placed the system under load. 6 green lamps held steady. Olivia set the yellow mug beside the receiver, then turned all the folding chairs toward Karen's bench. The licensed engineer arrived first. He showed Olivia his license, accepted no coffee, and went directly to the west bench. He checked the receiver's serial plate, the control unit, the generator transfer, and all 6 station rows. Caleb answered technical questions but did not touch the controls unless asked. At 3:15, Michelle entered carrying a sealed document envelope and a cooperative equipment schedule. She set both beside Olivia's deed. "I'm leaving for the cooperative station at 3:30, she said. "The engineer will remain here and record both sides of the test." William and Dawn arrived together. William chose the chair nearest the counter. Dawn stood near the front window until Olivia asked whether she wanted to sit. "I'm fine," Dawn said. Nobody was fine. The engineer compared the first serial number with Karen's maintenance log. Then he compared it with Michelle's schedule. "Receiver matches," he said. He repeated the process with the remote control unit and generator interface. Every number matched. William watched without interrupting until the engineer reached the remote equipment list. "The deed transfers the Pioneer Avenue property and its contents," William said. "It does not transfer equipment at other locations," Michelle answered before Olivia could. "That is why we're comparing the equipment schedule. A schedule proves Karen serviced it. It doesn't prove the shop owns it. The agreement defines the system by these identifiers," Michelle said. "The estate has not seen the agreement. You're about to." Michelle opened the envelope and removed a document held together by two metal clips. Karen's signature appeared on the final page beside the date from September of 2024. Dawn touched the back of a chair, but still did not sit. William held out his hand. Michelle did not give him the document. "I will provide copies after the inspection," she said. "This original remains with me. I represent Karen's estate, and Olivia owns the service property. Both interests are present." William looked at Olivia. "You arranged this as if your claim were already accepted. I arranged an inspection before the deadline you didn't tell me about. I received a general notice addressed to Karen's business. You had not yet accepted the property. The deed was recorded when the notice came. The estate was still open." Dawn spoke quietly. "You could have forwarded it." William turned to her. "I had no reason to send her business correspondence before determining whether the business transferred. You wanted her to disclaim the building, because the building was a liability based on the information available. The information was in Mom's records. A radio log is not a contract." The engineer stopped writing and waited. He was there to test equipment, not referee a family argument. Michelle placed one hand on the agreement. "We need to complete the document comparison before I leave," she said. She turned to the equipment schedule. It listed Foster Base, the 3 relays, the 2 cooperative stations, and their serial numbers. Each matched the units Karen recorded. The final station's automated identifier, captured on Monday, matched as well. The engineer signed the comparison line. "Equipment identity confirmed," he said. "Operational identity requires the live test." William leaned forward. "Before that happens, I want the estate's position stated clearly." Olivia knew he had prepared the words. He would not risk being described later as someone who had watched silently. "Karen Foster entered any service agreement in her personal business capacity," he said. "At her death, business rights and income became estate assets. Olivia received real property assessed as requiring demolition. Repairing equipment after the transfer does not give her ownership of a contract signed before the transfer." Dawn looked at Olivia. William continued. "If the system has value, that value belongs to the beneficiaries Karen named for the balance of her estate. There was the complete version he had built. The shop could belong to Olivia while it cost money. The moment it produced anything, its working life belonged somewhere else." Olivia did not argue. She asked Michelle, "Does the agreement identify the service provider by Karen's personal name or by the system?" Michelle turned to the first page. The service provider is identified as Foster Radio and Marine Signal, operating the listed base property and equipment system. "And what happens when the base property changes owners?" Michelle found the marked section, but did not read it yet. "The succession provision applies only if the system passes inspection," William said. "A test cannot decide inheritance." "No," Olivia said. "The deed decided the property. The agreement decides what follows the property. You haven't read it, neither have you." Michelle checked the clock. "I need to leave for the remote station." Before going, she placed the agreement in front of the engineer, open to the succession provision. She also placed a copy face down on the counter. "At 4, I'll call Foster Base on the scheduled channel. The receiver must carry my station identifier and voice. The base operator must return the listed acknowledgement through the control system. No telephone confirmation substitutes for the radio test." She looked at Olivia. If the test passes, I'll disclose the remaining financial terms and confirm the successor. If it fails, the agreement does not continue. Michelle left. The room became quieter after the door closed. Caleb checked the generator load again. It held steady. Olivia sat at Karen's bench and put on the headset connected to the receiver. The yellow mug stood near her right hand. Dawn finally sat down. William remained beside the counter, close enough to the agreement copy to touch it. He did not. At 3:40, the engineer asked Olivia to bring the base console online. She switched it on. 6 station lamps changed from dark to green. The remote-ready light in the rear cabinet followed. The engineer compared the displayed identifiers with Karen's log. Then he checked the receiver frequency and placed a recording meter beside the speaker. At 3:52, static filled the shop. Olivia adjusted the volume. Her wrist still hurt when she turned the larger knob, but she could move it. Caleb stood behind her left shoulder. "Don't chase the noise," he said. "Leave the tuning where we set it." She nodded. At 3:58, one of the station lamps flickered. The engineer wrote down the time. A carrier lifted the receiver's signal needle. It remained for 3 seconds, then fell away. William shifted in his chair. At 4 exactly, an electronic identifier came through the speaker. The tones were clean. The engineer watched his decoding display and compared the letters with the agreement schedule. "Remote station confirmed," he said. Then static returned. Olivia waited. The receiver that had sat silent beneath dust and a leaking roof gave a soft click. A woman's voice entered the room. "Foster Base, this is Kachama Cooperative Control. Has Foster Base returned to service?" Olivia looked at the gray microphone. For years, Karen had answered from the same chair. Dawn had watched without understanding. William had dismissed the room around it. Caleb had repaired equipment beside it without knowing the full system. Now, the question belonged to Olivia. She lifted the microphone, but did not press the red button yet. The engineer pointed to the acknowledgement card attached to the agreement. Olivia read it once, then pressed. "Kachamak Cooperative Control, this is Foster Base. Receiver clear. 6 linked stations ready. Foster Base has returned to service." She released the button. The console sent the acknowledgement through the buried control line. One by one, the 6 lamps blinked and returned to steady green. Michelle's voice came back. "Foster Base acknowledgement received. All listed identifiers confirmed." The engineer marked the final line. "Live system test passed," he said. Nobody spoke for several seconds. The receiver continued carrying low background traffic from the cooperative station. Its lamp glowed steadily behind the tuning scale. William stood. "I want to read the succession provision now." The engineer turned the agreement so everyone could see it. The wording was shorter than William expected. If lawful ownership of the Foster Base property changed, the service agreement succeeded to the new owner, provided the complete listed system remained with the base and passed cooperative inspection within 30 days. The deed established Olivia as the lawful property owner. The equipment schedule and serials established that the complete listed system remained with the base. The live test established that it worked. Those were not separate prizes or hidden claims. Together, they fulfilled one rule Karen had preserved in the agreement. William read the provision twice. "What about Karen's personal business assets?" he asked. Michelle's voice came through the receiver again. "The cooperative has no unpaid balance owed to Karen's estate. The active service agreement follows the qualified base owner under the provision you are reading." Dawn looked at the maintenance log. Mom did those checks every Thursday. She wrote down the station letters afterward. She did it for years. William did not look at her. The engineer added Dawn's confirmation to the continuity record. It supported Karen's routine. It did not replace the deed, clause, identifiers, or test. Olivia asked, "What are the financial terms?" Michelle answered through the same receiver. "The remaining service value is $420,000 over the agreement period. Payments are scheduled, not immediate. They require maintenance of all 6 stations, weekly checks, emergency response, inspection records, and continuous backup readiness." Dawn sat very still. William's face lost color, though his voice remained controlled. "Can the agreement be divided between the property owner and the estate beneficiaries?" "No," Michelle said. "The cooperative pays the qualified operator responsible for the whole system." "We will not divide control." William looked at Olivia. "You cannot perform that work alone. I know. You don't have the experience. Not yet. You have an office job. I'm deciding whether to return to it." He glanced toward Caleb. So he operates it. And you collect? Caleb answered evenly. I repair equipment. Olivia owns the base and is training to operate it. Our hours are recorded. Olivia placed her hand on the maintenance log. I'm accepting the agreement with all its duties, she said. Michelle asked her to confirm she understood the payment depended on continued service. I understand. Do you accept succession as lawful base owner? Yes. Michelle recorded the acceptance over the live channel. The engineer signed the authentication page and placed it beside the deed. His work was finished. He had not awarded Olivia anything. He had confirmed that the established rule had been met. William picked up the copy Michelle left for the estate. This should have been disclosed before the property was distributed. The agreement reference was in Grandma's records, Olivia said. You didn't know what it meant either. No, I repaired what it named. He looked around the shop as if seeing its size correctly for the first time. The room was still weathered. The roof still needed replacement. The furnace still did not work. $420,000 would arrive only while the system kept working, and much of it would pay for that work. William turned toward the door. Olivia stopped him. You may have a copy of the test result. The original log stays here. You do not contact Caleb's customers again, and you do not speak for this shop. William met her eyes. And if I dispute that? You do it in writing. You don't use Dawn, and you don't sit across the street taking pictures. The boundary did not humiliate him. It gave him a door and told him when it would be open. He left with the agreement copy. Dawn remained in her chair. Through the receiver, Michelle gave Olivia the time for the next weekly check and the first maintenance report due Friday. Olivia wrote both in the log. Then she reached past the yellow mug and turned the speaker high enough for everyone still in the shop to hear the working station breathe. Dawn listened until Michelle ended the transmission. The static returned, softer than before. I should have asked Mom what she was doing, Dawn said. Olivia closed the maintenance log. Yes. Dawn had expected comfort. Olivia did not give it. I thought she was keeping that old equipment alive because she couldn't let the shop go. She was keeping it alive because people used it. I know that now. Olivia removed the headset and set it beside the microphone. Dawn looked toward the door William had closed behind him. He won't apologize. I didn't expect him to. He thinks he acted properly as executor. He withheld the inspection notice. He'll say he was determining whether it belonged to the estate. He was trying to run out the clock. Dawn did not defend him. The engineer packed his meters, gave copies of the signed test result to Olivia and Dawn, then left. He had confirmed what he came to confirm. There was no speech and no congratulations. Caleb began shutting down the test equipment. Dawn remained seated. What happens to William's offer? She asked. It expires Monday. You're not taking it? No. And the agreement isn't divided? No. Dawn nodded, but disappointment passed across her face before she could hide it. Olivia saw it. You still hoped it would be. I hoped there'd be a way nobody walked out feeling cheated. I spent nearly everything I had making the system pass. I know. Caleb worked without knowing when I could pay him. I know. William tried to stop the inspection. I know, Olivia. Then what part belongs to you? Dawn looked down at her hands. None of the agreement, she said. It was the first honest answer she had given without leaving herself room to ask again later. Olivia pulled the other folding chair closer. If you come back here, come because it was Grandma's place and I'm your niece. Don't come to inspect what you didn't get. Dawn swallowed. That's fair. It's a boundary. Fair takes longer. Dawn nodded. She left 10 minutes later, taking only her copy of the test result. Caleb waited until her car had gone. You want me to say something useful? He asked. No. Good. I'm tired. They cleaned the bench in silence. At 7, Michelle called on the telephone. The cooperative needed Olivia's first maintenance report by noon Friday. It required current readings from every station, generator fuel capacity, a list of recent repairs, and an on-call contact who could reach the base within 30 minutes. Caleb lives farther than that, Olivia said. Then you're the first contact. I don't know how to fix everything. You don't have to. You have to answer, assess the fault, and call the right technician. So, I sleep here, if that's how you meet the response time. Olivia looked up the stairs. The apartment had one working kitchen outlet, an electric heater, and a pull-out couch that leaned left. The agreement had not changed those facts. I'll be the first contact, she said. She spent Thursday night entering Karen's old readings into a new report. Caleb stayed until 10, showing her how to distinguish normal variation from a failing battery. Before he left, Olivia handed him the written bench agreement they had discussed. It gave him a fixed work area, locked storage, use of safe power, and access during shop hours. In return, he would pay modest monthly bench rent and remain an independent technician. Network work would be billed separately. Caleb read the page. You included a 30-day exit. You said your last bench got expensive after you depended on it, so you listened. I sometimes do. He signed, and she signed beneath him. Still leaning left upstairs? He asked. Yes. I have a folding cot. That sounds worse. It's level. Bring it tomorrow. The next morning, the cooperative sent confirmation that the agreement had succeeded to Olivia as base owner. The first scheduled payment would follow acceptance of her maintenance report. It was enough to stabilize her immediate finances, but it did not erase the roof estimate, restore her lost wages, or fund years of service in advance. Olivia paid Caleb a small part of the labor balance from her remaining savings. He objected until she showed him the account entry. You need operating cash, he said. You need groceries. I had groceries before you inherited this place, and fewer unpaid hours. He accepted the payment and marked the remaining balance. At 11:48, Olivia sent the maintenance report. Michelle called 6 minutes later. Your fuel figure is wrong. Olivia checked the line. She had entered the generator tank's total capacity instead of the usable amount. How far off? Enough to fail an overnight estimate. Olivia corrected it and sent the report again. This time, Michelle accepted it. The first official work Olivia submitted as operator had come back with an error. She fixed it before the deadline. That was less satisfying than being naturally right and more useful. William's written response arrived that afternoon. He acknowledged the cooperative's decision and stated that the estate would not claim future agreement payments. He reserved the estate's right to review any income earned before Karen's death. There was no apology. He did not mention the inspection notice or the calls that cost Caleb a customer. He also enclosed the remaining shop documents from Karen's estate files. Olivia checked the box against his inventory. Nothing was missing. At the bottom lay the original business registration for Foster Radio and Marine Signal. Karen had renewed it the previous year. A note from William said Olivia would need to file the ownership update herself. He had done the minimum required and no more. Olivia filed the update that afternoon. She did not call to thank him. On Saturday, Dawn appeared carrying work clothes in a grocery bag. I came to help clean upstairs, she said. Olivia did not move from the doorway. Why? Because Mom's kitchen floor needs scrubbing and your wrist is wrapped. You don't have to earn a percentage. I know. William didn't send you? No. Dawn held up the grocery bag. You can say no. Olivia let her in. They worked upstairs for 3 hours. Dawn scrubbed the kitchen floor and washed the curtains. Olivia sorted Karen's clothes into boxes. Neither woman claimed the easy intimacy they once thought they had. At the back of the bedroom closet, Dawn found a pair of rubber boots with Karen's name written inside. She wore these to the relay sites, Dawn said. They're too small for me. They're too small for everybody. Mom bought shoes like she was negotiating with her feet. Olivia laughed before she could stop herself. Dawn put the boots beside the apartment door, rather than into the donation box. When they finished, she asked, Can I come Thursday for the radio check? You can come. Do I stay quiet? While the station transmits, I can do that. It was not forgiveness, it was an appointment, and Dawn kept it. William did not return to the shop that week. He called once on Tuesday. I received the final property accounting, he said. Probate can close without further action from you. All right. The estate will not pay any building expenses after the deed date. I know. You should maintain separate records for the cooperative income. I am. He seemed irritated that she no longer needed each warning translated. Before ending the call, he said, Your grandmother should have explained the arrangement. Olivia looked at Karen's maintenance log. She explained it to the person who did the work. That isn't an answer. It's the one I have. William went quiet. Olivia did not fill the silence for him. Goodbye, Olivia, he said. Goodbye, William. She had never called him that to his face before. The name did not feel triumphant. It felt accurate. After the call, she changed the rear lock and gave Caleb the only other key. William had never used his executor access improperly, but that access had ended. On Thursday, Dawn arrived at 3:45 with canned soup and stayed away from the controls. Caleb worked at the front bench while Olivia completed the generator check. At 4, the scheduled carrier came through. Michelle's station identifier followed. Olivia returned the acknowledgement correctly. Dawn watched her write the readings in Karen's log. Mom used to tap the pencil twice before she wrote, she said. Olivia looked at the pencil in her hand. I remember. This time, Dawn did not add anything. That evening, the wind rose over Homer. Rain struck the repaired roof opening, but the bucket beneath it remained dry. At 2:17 in the morning, a warning tone woke Olivia upstairs. She pulled on her clothes, went down to the repair floor, and found one station lamp blinking red. The agreement's first unscheduled call had arrived. Olivia opened the maintenance log, checked the fault code, and reached for the telephone beside Caleb's number. Caleb answered on the second ring. What code? Olivia read it from the console. Which station? The Hill Relay. Check base return voltage first. She connected the meter where he had shown her. The base reading was steady. Good, Caleb said. Now request one automated repeat. Olivia sent the command. The station answered, but its return was weak. Battery voltage is dropping, she said. Probably weather covering the panels. The unit should reduce power before it shuts down. What do I do? Log the reading. Set another check for 30 minutes. If it drops below Karen's limit, call Michelle and move traffic to the other relay. Olivia found the limit in the maintenance notes. The second reading remained just above it. The third rose slightly as the rain weakened. By 4, the fault lamp had returned to green. No boat crossed dark water. No emergency crew arrived. The first unscheduled problem required attention, correct records, and patience. Caleb came in at 7 with coffee. You could have called me sooner, he said. I did call you. You know what I mean. I followed the procedure. He checked her entries. You did. That afternoon, Michelle reviewed the fault remotely and accepted Olivia's report without correction. The first agreement payment arrived the following week. Olivia paid Caleb's recorded network hours, set aside money for station parts and fuel, then looked at what remained. It would not buy a new roof. She obtained 3 bids. The least expensive contractor could begin before autumn if Olivia paid a deposit and completed some interior removal herself. Caleb helped her pull damaged ceiling panels after closing. Dawn carried the pieces outside and swept the floor. She came on 2 Saturdays without asking what the agreement paid. On the 3rd Saturday, William appeared at the front door. He had called first. Olivia led him into the repair floor but did not take him upstairs. He looked at the exposed ceiling and stacks of roofing material. I heard you hired someone, he said. Yes. Did you compare warranties? Yes. He nodded toward the receiver. The system's still working? It is. There were many things he could have said next. He could have admitted he misjudged the building. He could have asked about the night Olivia stayed with Karen 8 years earlier. He could have apologized for making every act of care sound like disobedience. He did none of them. The estate is closed, he said. You should receive the final notice this week. All right. He placed Karen's old shop key on the counter. It was still on my ring. Olivia picked it up. Thank you. I won't need it. No. William looked toward the stairs. Your aunt says you're moving in permanently. I already live here. I mean, after the repairs. So do I. He put on his gloves. If you need the name of the furnace company Mom used, Dawn has it. I found their sticker downstairs. Of course. He left without asking to return. The visit did not repair their relationship. It did show that he could enter when invited, speak without controlling the next decision, and leave his key behind. For the moment, that was the only kind of contact Olivia trusted. By September, the roof no longer leaked. The contractor replaced damaged sheathing, sealed the antenna mounts properly, and added a safe access hatch for future inspections. Olivia watched the first heavy rain from Karen's kitchen. Water ran into the new gutter and away from the building. No bucket stood beneath the west bench. The furnace repair came next. Then the upstairs wiring. Olivia kept costs inside the scheduled payments and refused to borrow against the full agreement value. $420,000 sounded enormous until divided across equipment, labor, travel, insurance, taxes, emergency reserve, and years of being available. She left her office job when her unpaid leave ended. Her supervisor offered her another week to reconsider. Olivia thanked her and declined. The shop needed an operator. More importantly, Olivia wanted to become one. Caleb trained her in stages. She learned to replace connectors, test charging circuits, document faults, and recognize when a repair exceeded her ability. He never pretended competence meant doing everything alone. His own work grew. 2 repair benches occupied the east side by winter. Customers dropped off marine radios, navigation displays, and battered microphones in plastic bags. Caleb paid rent each month, even after Olivia told him the first payment could wait until after the holidays. "A bench arrangement is still an arrangement," he said. Dawn began coming for the Thursday checks. At first she sat in Karen's chair near the window and kept silent. Later, Olivia let her read the station list, while Olivia recorded the responses. One Thursday, Dawn brought William's Christmas card. "He asked me to leave it," she said. "He has my address. I told him that." Olivia opened it after Dawn left. William had written that he hoped the shop was doing well. He signed his name, not Dad. Olivia put the card in a kitchen drawer. She did not call him. She also did not throw it away. In January, a storm interrupted normal coverage across part of the bay. Foster Base carried 6 safety calls during 3 hours. Olivia stayed at the console while Caleb monitored the generator and Michelle coordinated the remote stations. Afterward, Michelle called by telephone. "Good work tonight," she said. "Station 3 drifted on the last check. I saw it. We should inspect the antenna before the next storm. Put it on the schedule." Olivia did. The network had passed another test, not because Karen's plan protected it forever, but because people kept maintaining it. Olivia disliked having her worst family moment used as an introduction. She called the page owner and asked them to add the emergency contact information and Caleb's repair hours. The revised post brought 3 equipment jobs and 1 request from a landing crew for a coverage check. By spring, the upstairs apartment had new flooring, repaired cabinets, and warm cream paint over the water stains. Olivia kept Karen's yellow mug beside the downstairs receiver. The rubber boots stayed near the apartment door, still too small for anyone. Dawn helped hang curtains in the bedroom. "Are these straight?" she asked. "No. They look straight from here. You're standing crooked." Dawn adjusted them and stepped back. "Can I keep some groceries here?" she asked. "For Thursdays. Top shelf." It was a small permission. Dawn treated it like one. She brought soup, coffee, and bread, never estate papers. William visited twice that year. Both times he called first. He and Olivia spoke about the roof, the weather, and Karen's final accounts. They did not pretend the missing years had returned. When he offered advice Olivia had not requested, she told him so. The second time, he stopped. Caleb built a locking parts cabinet beneath his bench. Olivia added a second customer counter and restored the original blue sign instead of replacing it. They reopened the front room 5 days a week, with network checks posted around repair hours. On the first anniversary of Karen's death, Olivia closed early. Dawn came upstairs for dinner. Caleb joined them after finishing a radio below. William had been invited but declined. He sent no explanation. They ate soup from Karen's recipe and bread Dawn had burned along one edge. At 4, they went downstairs for the weekly check. The scheduled carrier arrived. Michelle's voice followed, clear and familiar. "Foster Base, KHMAC Cooperative Control, status check." Olivia lifted the gray microphone. "KHMAC Cooperative Control, Foster Base. 6 stations ready." The acknowledgement moved through the network. 6 lamps blinked, then steadied. Dawn tapped a pencil twice against the maintenance log before handing it to Olivia. "You do that now," she said. "I know. If stories about young people rebuilding a life after family betrayal matter to you, subscribe and return for the next inheritance story." That evening, Dawn washed the soup bowls and left groceries on the top shelf. Caleb returned downstairs to finish a repair promised for morning. Olivia locked the front door and checked the generator reading one last time. The shop held the quiet sounds of useful work: a soldering fan, a turning screwdriver, and harbor traffic low on the receiver. She carried Karen's yellow mug upstairs and set it beside the kitchen sink. Through the open stairwell, Caleb asked where she had put the small cable labels. "Second drawer under the register," she called. He found them. Olivia switched on the lamp beside the upstairs window. Its shade was straight now. Light spread across the table, the clean floor, and the 2 chairs waiting beside it. Outside, evening settled over Pioneer Avenue. The restored blue sign moved slightly in the wind. Inside, heat rose through the stairwell. Voices could travel between both floors, and every key belonged to someone welcome. Olivia stood beneath the warm apartment lights while the receiver lamp glowed steadily over Caleb's working bench below.